Kuo Kuana. Upon arrival, Shia immediately sprinted off the ship and embraced the soft sandy ground Kuo Kuana was built on. She then began kissing the sandy beach, while whispering her gratitude to it for being land. Ahem. Shia looked up at a mildly amused Dean, who was gesturing her head to the random Kirby's around them who were looking at her strangely. Shia started to rub the back of her head in Imbara meant. Ihi, heh. Is it too late to redo my first impression here? Pretty sure that ship sailed when you began to violently eject your previous meals on the ship's deck, some guy's shoes, and into the ocean. I think some of them started to joke after the second hour. Fifth hour's when they came up with Vomit Bunny. Ian replied, watching Shia visibly deflate. Holding back an amused snort, Ian pat the bunny girl's shoulder to comfort her. I'm sure you can ruin your first impression here, though. We just need to get to the Belladonna house. 1st POV. Blake Belladonna, now's the time. Mom is busy with the Tiger King and Dad's meeting Sienna. I can't just sit back and stay here on Menagerie any longer. Not when Adam's out there in Mantle, fighting for our people. I don't care what the Tiger King says, doing nothing isn't the answer. I made sure to grab a decent enough cover to hide my hair and ears. I packed enough food to last the trip. I have my scroll, I have Gamble Shroud with me, and lastly, I have the boat schedule, which is supposed to arrive now. Crap. I spent too long packing my stuff. I couldn't help but shout as I quickly made my way through the bustling city. Can I interest you in some fruit? One of the local produce sellers offers as I make my way past them, almost knocking some fruit off his stand. No. Sorry. I sorta reply automatically, as I'm way too focused on trying to get to the boat. Avoiding some of the white fan guards who patrol the streets, I can finally see the docks. The drop-off is already done, and I see quite a few faunus boarding the ship. That's bad. I have to hurry if I want to help Adam. He's been expecting me for months now, and he needs all the help he can get in Mantle. Excuse me. Excuse me. I can't help but yell out as I push my way through the crowd. The last few people seem to be boarding now. I can make it. I can ugh. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention to my immediate surroundings and a few kids run right in front of me. Fortunately, I have some years of training under my belt and move to quickly jump over the kids. Problem is, I think landing's going to hurt someone. Try as I might to position my body, I'm definitely going to end up hitting someone. Mom would kill me if she knew I messed up acrobatics as a cat faunus. Pomf or... I guess not. I fall on something kind of soft somehow. Blinking the minor shock away, I can't help but look up at the person in which I basically leapt into the arms of. Black hair, fair skin, striking red eyes, black scales, and... Oh gods, what is this feeling? Why does it feel like whenever I see the Tiger King annoyed? It's not fear exactly, but it's close. It's a little hard to breathe when she's looking right at me like this. Are you good? You're spacing out there. The black-haired woman asks me. Wah. She's fallen for you already. What kind of charisma do you have? A bunny faunus next to her asks, her face very expressive. Why? I'm not falling for. Oh, you were making a pun, weren't you? I hated puns. Hee hee, first impressions way better than on the boat. I can't hear her mutter to herself. The woman sets me down and looks me over. Even in these covering clothes, I feel like she can see right through me, somehow. She feels strong. Maybe I can convince her to help Adam with me? Oh, *T. A curse escapes me as I look out to the docks and watch as the boat takes off. Well, there goes yet another chance to help Faunaskind. It's frustrating, but maybe Mom was right? Maybe I'm not ready to travel out into Remnant yet. But she also doesn't like Adam either. So maybe she's just saying that so I don't go after him. Either way, I can't help the defeated sigh that escapes me as I watch my ticket off of this island vanish. And it's all thanks to Woe. When did she get this close? POV. 3RD Ian looked under the ragged hood that poorly hid Blake's black hair and cat ears. Only when she finally snapped out of her inner thoughts was Ian noticed. Blake quickly took a step back and threw an accusatory glance at her. I was supposed to board that ship. Huh. Now what'll I do? Blake seemed to realize blaming anyone else was wrong and slumped her shoulders in defeat. It should be fine, no? The boat comes every week, right? Shia asked, taking interest in the young faunus.
Well, yeah.
But everything was set up perfectly. I don't know if I'll get another chance like this. Blake huffed, kicking a pebble down the street. Ian cupped her chin, immediately taking a guess as to what her intention was. It was easy, considering her age and the fact she was still a menagerie. Blake ran away from home in Cannon, joined up with the aggressive white fan Gunter Adam, who, before the writers made a joke, was basically a misguided freedom fighter for the White Fang. I wonder if he's just a stalker here too. Ian thought to herself before clearing her throat and focusing on the young would-be protagonist. You're a Belladonna, right? Ian could see the panic in her eyes when she asked. Blake adjusted the hood covering her ears and hair and looked up at Ian, trying to convey a look of confidence. No, I'm
Ilya.
Not even Shia was buying it. The bunny girl held back a laugh and smiled as Ian grew a rather mischievous smile herself. Blake pouted, seeing her lie was quickly seen through, but suddenly found the top of her head being rubbed. Her ears perked up involuntarily, despite her best efforts to keep them down. Really? Is that so? And here I was, thinking to get myself a personal tour guide to the Belladonna estate. I'm here on some business and want to help the faunus here. Ian explained, her voice taking on a softer tone as she watched Blake's head lean into her touch, though it seemed subconscious. Ugh.
Well,
if you're here to help then. Blake sighed, but decided that since her opportunity to get aboard the ship was gone, she could at least entertain the idea that these two could help out. Maybe you could join the White Fang?
Oh, and,
Yeah, I'm Blake. I can see about taking you to my mom. I think she's done with her meeting by now. Follow me, it's just up the hill. Blake took off the hood covering her medium-length black hair and twitching cat ears and began to lead the two up to a large house, clearly built like those in Mistral. After minutes of walking up the large hill, they arrived at the Belladonna house. Ian was used to seeing the style, but Shia had her eyes wide as dinner plates taking in the architecture and beauty of the estate. Blake looked a bit scared to go in, despite its almost serene appearance. Though Ian and Shia would understand why. Once a woman with short black hair and amber eyes opened the front door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Oh, Blake, my little kitten, where did you run off to when I was having an important meeting? The curvaceous mature woman asked her daughter. I was greeting the new arrivals. These two wanted to see you. Blake immediately deflected her mother's attention to Ian and Shia. A rabbit faunus and a. Callie narrowed her eyes and stood in front of Ian within the blink of an eye. She's not that much slower than Mom is. Ian mentally noted, taking in the fragrant scent coming from the mature woman who was closely inspecting her. Smells like a wolf. I thought she was a cat. Yin's thoughts abruptly stopped as Callie grabbed her cheeks with a genuine smile. Oh my gods. You look so much like your mother. Good thing I checked, or I would have done one of two illegal things to do to a child. Please, come on in, Callie exclaimed, taking Yin's hand and quickly walking into her home. What? Ian managed to mutter before being dragged inside. Shia and Blake both looked at each other in mild confusion before hurrying after the excited wolf faunus and Ian.
Wait.
Mom. Callie ignores her daughter's cry and smiles to herself as she pulls Ian into the living room before turning to her daughter. Be a dear and make some tea for us. Maybe the tea will help me forget someone snuck out during her training time. Blake's face paled before she immediately took off toward the kitchen. Wow. She'd give Hajime-san a run for his money in scariness. Shia muttered. Please, take a seat. I'm eager to know how Raven's been doing all these years. No marriage, 2 kids, and now she's making a clan out of a bandit tribe. Really, she could at least send me a letter. Callie seemed to sulk as she took a seat across from Ian and Shia. Sorry. But how do you know all that? Ian asked, voice laced with suspicion. Scroll? Oh, did you not know how popular the Branwen tribe's becoming in recent years? Callie asked with an amused smile. I only really use it for maps and ScrollTube. And recently I stopped using ScrollTube for the Kiss My Sister prank gone wrong, gone **XUEL, clickbait videos. Ian replied, hearing an amused snort from the woman, while Shia simply tilted her head in disbelief. Go to Remnant Online. It's a message boards website that goes over world news. Mistralanima Branwin should be there. Callie informed, watching Ian pull out her scroll to check. Welcome to Remnant Online message boards. You are currently signed in Black Dragon. You are viewing *threads. You have replied to *threads with new replies *private messages *original poster topic. General discussion in News Mistralanima Branwin Clan Jaravaz. Not Ashpin. Original poster things with the Branwin clan seem to be settling, finally. They went around my town recruiting. I was almost tempted to go if at least just to see Raven. But this orange-haired psychopath only talked my ear off about pancakes versus waffles. So, better luck next time for me, I guess? Hopefully next recruiter doesn't threaten to break my legs. Laughing face. Ray Kale, Muscle Mommy Visionary. Yuri is life, LMAO. Yeah, I know that girl. She was funny. That femboy guy with her though. Stinky fart. Why do I have to live all the way up in Argus? That's it, I'm going to honor Yuri next time they go out recruiting. Last time, I saw a super hot girl with long black hair and red eyes with those two mentioned above carrot. Do you think she'll step on me if I ask nicely? Black Dragon. Absolutely not. Especially for a guy named after Fart. Stinky Fard. Sad face. Beaming Kangaroo. LOLOL, get wrecked scrub. I only ship her with women. Like if she had a sister perhaps. Right, I'm done reading that for today. Ian coughed and turned her scroll off before she could read any more. Let's get to the real reason we're here. The Beast Kings. Ian smirked. Kuo Kuana too. Many of you seem to enjoy the message boards. So in the future, after some events, I'll do a segment where I include you guys in them. And it probably felt short because it was exactly 2,000 words. Usually it varies from 2,100 to 2,500. Oh ho. If you're asking for their help, I'm afraid you've come here for no reason. Callie answered, smiling as Blake delivered the tea. Why is that though? Shia spoke up, sitting next to Ian with a thoughtful expression. Callie felt a small, helpless smile form on her face, while feeling the annoyance from her daughter behind her. I'm going to Callie cut off Blake with a sudden raise of her hand. No, you should stay. This talk is something you need too, my little kitten. Callie took her cup after Ian and calmly sipped the hot drink with a satisfied face. The white fang is fracturing. Though, on the outside, it probably looks like the opposite. The Beast Kings all have their own ideas on how we faunists should proceed. The Tiger King, Ghislaine, thinks integration and focusing on defense will help us. The issue is, it will take a while before the benefits of that path are seen. Callie then glanced at Ian, who noticed the growing frustration in Blake. The Fox King, Tamamo, is of the mind we should retaliate back at the SDC and Krallo mercenaries, liberate the faunists in the mines and go on the offensive. With recent events, her views are becoming popular. Ian slowly nodded before taking a guess as to what the Last King's views are. Let me guess. The Last King wants to wage war on humans. Yin's question made the house quiet for a few seconds before Callie sighed softly. Blake rubbed her arm awkwardly and looked to her mother, who now sported a more serious demeanor.
Yes.
Mazaka, the Wolf King blames not only the SDC but human society as a whole.
4. Personal reasons I'll not discuss.
It's a rather sensitive topic on menagerie, but it's an open secret, so you'll likely hear it at some point. We're divided at the moment, Callie finished. That's why we need to convince Lady Ghislaine to side with Lady Tamamo. They heard Blake murmur, Callie's lips thinning in response. Ghislaine's plan isn't going to work. It takes too long. It is nothing about the SDC, and we'll just end up being walked on by humans again. We protested, they ignored us. We begged, they ignored us. We boycotted, they ignored us. We were suffering, and they ignored us. Blake clenched her fists as she cried out. So, your proposition is to
attack.
To strike back, instill some fear in them and gain recognition that way? I certainly agree that you should defend yourself against the SDC and mercenaries if they're aiming to hurt you. Ian looked at Blake, watching her brows furrow at the challenge in her words. I'm sensing a but here. Blake muttered. You'd be right. Ian took another sip before getting comfortable. Violence can be an effective tool, but it's a sledgehammer. The matter here is that you want faunas to be treated as equal to humans in society. Fear will get you that for a while, but fear breeds hate. And getting your way through fear isn't very equal, by the way. Soon, they'll express discontent, which will be in the form of complaints, protests, begging, which will push you into using fear once more. That'll spread further discontent until... Ian paused, watching as it dawned on Blake. We won't use it to oppress them. Just enough, so they understand. Blake fought back. That's going to end in bloodshed. Shia added, her ears drooping. Blake paused, biting her lip as she tried to deny it, that it didn't need to come at that cost. Respect is earned. It's more stable than fear. Thing is, you'll always encounter people who don't respect you. But there's not much you can do in regards to that than get the respect of others. You want equality? Get respect. Ask yourself, what do people respect? Honor, bravery, virtue, sacrifice, and most importantly, power. Ian looked into Blake's amber eyes and spoke firmly. Power. But fear. Blake paused, hearing her mother stifle a giggle. I see you picked up a few things from your mom. Yes, my kitty. Power. Whether that's wealth, military, culture, technology, or even personal power. These are the things we're currently lacking as a kingdom here. Being divided into 3 camps on an island with mostly desert, plus the 2 mythic-class Grimm inhabiting it. We were dealt a pretty crappy hand. So, back to my original statement. If you've come for help, well... Callie trailed off, but it was obvious what she was trying to say. Actually, it's the opposite. I'm here to help you. 2 hours later, at the far back of Kuo Kuana, there was a mountain, named Mount Khan after the first Tiger King, Tiger Khan. It was on this mountain that the Tiger King's temple was built into. Hundreds of steps led up to the temple from the town itself. It was here that one could see the usual sight of Sienna Khan walking up the steps to see the Tiger King. The tan Bengal tiger faunus squinted at the remaining 300 steps remaining, as if they'd killed her parents. Why? Oh, why did you build this place on a King Mountain, great-great-great-grandfather? Sienna sighed before continuing her trek up to the temple. Note to self. Hollow out a path into the mountain and build an elevator. Sienna added in annoyance. No. If someone must see me, they should at least possess the strength to climb up these stairs. You're trained, Sienna. This should be easy. A calm, stoic voice replied to Sienna, having appeared next to her. It is easy. When I only have to do this once. How many times do I have to walk up these steps a day, sister? Sienna asked back, not even looking to the woman who suddenly appeared next to her. The woman placed a finger on her chin thoughtfully. Sienna stopped and looked at the tanned faunus woman she came up to see. Her sister, Ghislaine, didn't have the tiger stripes she did, but she too possessed multiple faunus traits. Fangs, ears, nails, and a long feline tail swished behind her. Her stomach possessed a faded scar from a fight dating back before she was a beast king. Her fashion sense was unique in that for a top, she wore what was basically a tiny bikini, with a strap connecting the 2 strips of fabric as if its life depended on it. Her chest was pretty big after all. That was the only issue Sienna took with her sister's clothing. The baggy pants, sandals, and fur-collared coat were fine. Even that eye patch she wore for special reasons. 32 times. Just today. Ghislaine finally answered after a few seconds of silence. 33 actually. I had to wake you up at 6 in the morning. Sienna huffed, ignoring the slightly apologetic smile on her sister's face. What are you doing coming down anyway? Your daily walk around Kuo Kuana was 3 hours ago, right? The Bengal tigress raised her brow at her sister's unusual behavior. At her question, Ghislaine hummed thoughtfully once again. Something arrived in Menagerie. Other kings probably felt it. It's in Kuo Kuana. Sienna's face froze as she heard Ghislaine's reply. What's appeared? Danger? SDC machinery? Grimm. Ghislaine looked down at the peaceful town and grunted. No. Would have heard the screams, smelled blood. Something strong. Potentially dangerous. Powerful. Wanted to see for myself. Let me deal with this. I can judge if HYA. Sienna's words were cut off when she felt her faunus ears being lightly nibbled on by her sister. Something she often did to curb her impulsive and oftentimes violent tendencies. Sienna backed up a few steps and glared at her big sister accusingly. You won't be able to feel it. Likely only the Beast Kings can.
Talk to Blake.
She usually meets all the interesting new arrivals. Remember Adam? Ghislaine's question made Sienna roll her eyes hard. Only thing I ever hear about anymore. Blake doesn't shut up about him. Neither do the young white fan recruits.
Fine.
I'll go talk to Blake while you, before she could finish her sentence. Ghislaine crouched and leapt a few dozen meters into the air and took while saying, "MHM, you do that."
Bye.
She overthinks sometimes. Ghislaine mentally concluded as she landed at the bottom of the steps, maintaining an air of aloofness. Snap. Until her sandals snapped. Ghislaine looked at yet another ruined sandal and shrugged before carrying on, leaving her ruined footwear behind. It was pretty often her clothes would be ruined during her workouts, fights, or other extraneous activities. She didn't seem to mind, but in Kuo Kuana, seeing Ghislaine spontaneously lose clothing wasn't that rare. Ghislaine approached the strong feeling being that grabbed her attention, ending up in front of the Belladonna estate. Guess we could have gone together, huh? HM? Now that I'm closer. Smells. Female? Female pheromones. Not yet matured. Ghislaine, immersed in her thoughts, walked into the estate, immediately catching sight of two new faces. Ghislaine stopped in her tracks and stared at the two girls close to Callie and Blake. The bunny girl, she knew, was strong. She felt some seriously explosive power in her body, along with a strange, radiating energy within that felt different than aura. Then there was the deceptively young girl. That strange energies as large as the estate. Ghislaine's ear twitched in what felt like anticipation. Ian, however, was pretty surprised. Wait, is that Ghislaine from Ashoka Tensei? Tanned, cat ears, tail, eye patch. *T. Even the scar's the same. What the H*LL? I just thought these were similar names. Ian rubbed the space between her brows before noticing the sudden movement of Ghislaine.
Swish.
Faster than even her mother, Ian raised her arms to at least try and take the blow she saw coming. Only it never came. Nye, Ghislaine dragged her tongue up her cheek, confusing the two newcomers immensely. Ho? She's really that capable, Ghislaine? Callie smiled as she watched Ghislaine pull her face away from Yin's cheek and nodded her.
Yes.
She's not done growing, but she will be powerful when she matures. The busted Tiger King replied. What was that? Shia cried out in outrage while wiping Yin's cheek. Ghislaine tilted her head at her action and paused to think once more. I marked her for later. That answer didn't seem to set the bunny girl at ease, though. But before she could protest, Ian gently placed her hand on her shoulder to stop her. You marked me as a future challenge, didn't you? Callie took the opportunity to gently steer Blake out of the room while gently covering both sets of ears with her arms and hands. She knew what was coming next and didn't want to explain it to Blake yet.
Yes.
You're a worthy fighter even now. But perhaps in a few years you'll be even more powerful. No, it's inevitable. Ghislaine answered. Though I also marked you as a potential mate. You're strong. And I desire a strong partner. Shia nearly short-circuited. Ian closed her open jaw with an amused grin and raised her brow at Ghislaine. I'm a woman, you know?
So it's
not like I can give you children. Ghislaine simply nodded without much change in facial expression. And men, doesn't matter. I'm getting older and want to experience the joy of being with someone. My standards are just preventing me from taking anyone weaker than me. And I have obligations here, so I cannot leave. But it's still only a potential option as of now, since you haven't yet matured.
Good.
As long as it's not a claim, I'm fine with that. I was going to go looking for you soon anyway.
Can we talk?
Ian asked, urging Shia to sit back down with her. Yes, I'd like that. But I have a question. No, an observation I'd like to say first. Ghislaine then took a seat across from them, folding both her legs as she leaned her back against the chair. Ian nodded for her to continue. Ghislaine's eyes seemed to glaze over, then sharpen intensely as she looked at Ian. You are neither human nor faunus. You are a monster, power, wrapped in the flesh of a living creature. I see and feel many things in you. Flames, ambition, change, destruction. None of these are inherently bad by themselves. But the ego of a living being combined with these things almost always never ends well. I see potential in you. A desire to change things for the better, but also to dominate. You are welcome here as long as you keep those things you hold within you tame. But I ask you, do not bring ruin to our home. Kuo Kuana 3. The intense focus in Ghislaine's eyes ended, but the silence afterwards was almost deafening. Then, there was a feeling of heavy weight gradually setting upon the shoulders of everyone in the estate. The cause? The 14-year-old girl sitting across the Tiger King. And what will you do if I don't keep those aspects tame? Will you try to fight me? Who are you to call me all those things, as if you knew me? She asks, leaning back and smiling as her serpentine eyes sharpen in what seems to be anticipation. Ghislaine remained quiet, though her ears perked up, as if ready for any sudden moves.
Gah!
A startled yelp was heard further away. The heavy feeling weighing down on them suddenly vanished, once the serious and threatening look on Yin's face broke. PFF, relax. I'm not so arrogant that I'd take a plea as a slight against me. I just wanted to see your reaction. But it wasn't even really you speaking just then, huh? Phew. I thought you were going to flip the table for a second. Shia sighed in relief, while Ian watched Ghislaine. Her ears flattened against her head to show how indignant she was at Yin's teasing. If Ian had a type, Ghislaine would definitely be it. Her muscular, curvaceous body, paired with her long hair and mature face, made for a deadly combination. And though right now she thought of her in a platonic way, she had a feeling that if she were in her immediate proximity when she hit 16, she'd jump her. That's what her instincts were subtly hinting at anyway. So, it was not too surprising when she found herself wanting to pet the tiger lady. Pat, that was quite mean of you. I thought you were going to do something drastic.
And no.
That was my great-grandfather. Ghislaine harumphed, though did nothing to stop the apologetic petting Ian was giving her. Sorry, I was F***ing around there. Tapped into the instincts a little too hard. I think I heard Blake panic earlier too. I'll have to apologize later. Actually, I'm here to do some good. Ian clarified, watching Ghislaine's tail finally relax, since her face wasn't very expressive. Before she started though, she looked over to Shia. Shia, this'll probably be a somewhat boring talk for you. So I want you to go look for something. They're like mini great dungeon entrances. They'd look like staircases going down into the ground, leading to a door of some kind. Any odd-looking doors out in the wilderness. Look for those.
Yeah?
Last time I was in a dungeon. Shia cut herself off with quiet, incoherent mumbling with her face turned away. I'll give you a cage later. Just don't go too far from. Her words fell on deaf ears, because as soon as she mentioned cage, Shia had already begun sprinting out of the house. She's fun, Ghislaine remarked. Ian smiled wryly at the exaggerated display and turned her attention back to the Tiger King. That she is. Now, let's get Kelly back, so she can offer some insight on my ideas.
Amen.
We should also wait for Sienna. She was coming to meet with Blake here, anyway. But there's not much reason to now. Several hours later. Blake POV. The new girls are strange. Earlier, when Lady Ghislaine came over, I was ushered to my room for some reason. More annoying is that when I asked Mom about the reason why, all she said was, "You'll understand when you're older." I hate that so much. It's not like I don't understand what S**x is. I got the talk a year ago.
Plus, my mom's kinda loud sometimes.
I didn't really care about that stuff yet anyway. What it interests me is the talk that girl Ian was having with my parents and the Khan sisters. The technology you've presented is, well, to put it frankly, revolutionary. Our need for dust would diminish significantly. The transportation, agriculture, and construction industries would need a hive overhaul. You've essentially come to us with a godsend. I hear Dad mutter out. I didn't catch or see the specifics of the things she was showing since I'm eavesdropping from behind a wall. But that sounds incredible. I'm sensing a but here. The girl, Ian adds. If we start applying this to Kuo Kuana, the other cities will either think we're getting ready to attack them, or best case, they'll get resentful that we're doing so well. Sienna made a decent enough point, but the intention is to provide all of Menagerie this technology.
Good, Ian was thinking the same thing.
It gets quiet for a little while. Then I hear Lady Ghislaine speak. As of right now, that is a bad idea. Mazaka will use it against the kingdoms. Tamamo will use it against the SDC and Krallo. I can almost feel the snort coming from Sienna as she hears this. And what of the SDC and Krallo mercs? Who cares if we take the fight to them? In fact, that's what we should be doing. I can hear a familiar argument starting up again. Sienna agrees with Tamamo's approach.
So do I.
But Lady Ghislaine doesn't realize we need to be proactive about defending ourselves. You know how I feel about engaging them. If we start a fight with them, it will be war. They'll come here, Sienna. Mazaka wants war. Tamamo wants to free our brothers and sisters from the two families.
So do I.
But you must realize, Atlas will side with them if need be. And an entire country against us is not what we need right now, when we can't even be considered a kingdom ourselves. I hear Ghislaine's voice became a bit louder, more irritated. Then there was quiet again. So, what if you could become recognized as a kingdom? I doubt Atlas wants another great war on their hands. Finally, I hear Ian speak again. Become a kingdom. We've been trying since the war. But the land is terrible. There's 2 Mythic-class Grimm near the center of the land, and we're divided between 3 of our rulers. I hear Mom chime in with exactly these points. That's something we've been trying to do for a while now. Our biggest issue is unity. We're too divided. Perhaps if the Beast Kings can all agree on a course of action. The weary sigh my mom lets out after saying that is hard to bear. Then I'll go see them next. Tamamo likely won't see you for a while. The waiting list for that is long. And unless you impress her or attain a status equal to her, that won't be likely.
Mazaka
never sees anyone. I hear Sienna say, quieter at the end. That was true though. Mazaka has his loyal followers, but he's always off on his own. He loves the faunus and our home, but it's getting harder to tell if his love for his people outweighs his hatred for humans. Crap. I got so distracted I missed some of what they said. Could attain the same status. The supremacy test. I can just make out what Lady Ghislaine says at the end. Supremacy test? You mean the one you took to become the Tiger King? That altar holds the aura of all the Tiger Kings, sister. Sienna angrily shouts loud enough to hear, without me really listening in. If it helps the faunus. Lady Ghislaine's response came in calmly, despite the anger in Sienna's voice. There's another period of silence before I hear what sounds like someone collapsing back into a chair. Fine. If it truly does help us then. But I'm warning you. Anomaly or not. That altar is precious to us. If there's even a den on it. She trailed off, but the threat in her words was pretty apparent. Oh no, not again. A heavy feeling presses down on me. Just like earlier today, but it's more intense. More genuine. It feels like when I saw Ifrit from far away. That Mythic-class Grimm. How is anyone able to emulate this feeling? What is she? The heaviness stops, suddenly. But all I hear next is Sienna panting, then the front door closing. Being that close to the feeling must have been tough. I managed to peek down the hall and see Sienna with both knees on the floor, panting as I heard her. Luckily, Mom and Dad aren't really affected somehow. While Ian and Lady Ghislaine must have just left.
She's
not a faunus, Callie. I don't know what she is. But a faunus? No. I managed to hear Sienna croak out. I have to know more. I have to see for myself. Oh, Sienna. I catch my mom say with pity as Dad helps her up, but I'm already out the door before they notice.
Ian.
Third POV, the two walked quietly up the stairs to the Tiger King's temple. Though the silence was temporary, Sienna didn't mean anything by it. Our father's essence is in the altar. Ghislaine looked at Yin's impa*hive expression before she closed her eyes. Instinct again. I'm pretty prideful, so threats aren't something I can just ignore. Though I understand her desire to protect it. With you, I was messing around, but with her it was an involuntary reaction. I appreciate you letting me do this. Ghislaine blinked a few times before smiling. Amen. No problem. You want to help us after all. Getting us all to get along will be hard. It's the least I can do. But I must warn you, once you touch this altar, your aura, bloodline, and potential will be judged by my ancestors. They sealed some of their aura in it, to *H on their legacy to the future Tiger Kings. It's like the Schnee family's inherited semblance. But it's added after we become Beast Kings. We essentially get two semblances. This is true for the Wolf and Fox King as well. Ghislaine explained. Sounds a lot like a cultivator's inheritance. Hopefully I don't go to any secret realms, piss off any young masters, piss off an old monster, or get the attention of a jade bow. Actually, I don't mind that last part. Yin's thoughts slowly drifted. I can guess what my horde will look like already. Yin couldn't help the amused smirk growing on her face, just thinking about kidnapping women to keep around for their beauty. And the thought of stealing someone's girlfriend made that seem all the sweeter. I wonder how fun cucking anime protagonists would be. We've arrived. Ghislaine's voice snaps her out of her increasingly sadistic thoughts. They'd arrived at a clean stone temple. It was breezy due to some of the open walls and the fact that it sat quite high on the mountain. Ian could see some halls leading further inside, which is likely where Ghislaine's room was located at. She was led up more stone steps, until they came upon an altar shaped like the head of a roaring tiger. Ghislaine stood back as Ian approached the several meters tall altar overlooking Kuo Kuana. It looked less like a font of power than a religious symbol for the faunus. Though that was likely pretty accurate, given the name of king in their title. Simply touch it, Ghislaine said, urging her ahead. Right. I'll be back. As soon as Yin's fingers brushed against the tiger's head, time seemed to slow to a complete standstill. The altar's eyes flashed several different colors until it finally settled on white. Then an ancient, masculine voice spoke. Greetings, child of my creator. I had been expecting you for quite some time. The aged voice greeted, with a rather respectful tone. Child of... What is going on? I'm just here to do a test. Ian furrowed her brows and asked. The voice chuckled, as if reminiscing about something. There is no need for that. The goddess of balance created us both. I know you, and your counterpart. I alone am not worthy enough to judge what was created by the goddess. So, I will provide you with what is expected of me. The voice hummed before a notification popped up in front of Ian. Milestone met. Ta-da! Evolution available. Do you wish to evolve now? Y/N. Somehow, she just knew Hecate was probably laughing at her right now. A/N. So, who wants to be mentioned in the message boards? Also give power stones. I need them to show my friends how cool I am. Kuo Kuana for what do you mean by child? I wasn't created by her. Ian refuted the old man's words and stared defiantly at the altar. Accept the evolution, and you will come to understand. It is no coincidence you received it now of all times. I have held on to it for many years now. The old man replied. Do you wish to evolve now? Y/N. Ian looked at the blue panel before mentally agreeing. Time unfroze, yet where Ian had been previously was now a giant black and purple egg. Elsewhere, and just like that, she found herself somewhere else. Ian blinked, realizing she was laying down somewhere. There was a GLA*H roof 100 meters over her head, like she was in some sort of aquarium or splash. Water splashed her face, immediately taking her out of her inner thoughts. I watch the moon, let it run my mood, can't stop thinking of you. The voice singing sounded familiar. The voice of all the RWBY songs. Ian looked over after wiping the water off her face. She had suddenly appeared in a *hive indoor pool. Within that pool was Hecate, sitting on a large pool floatie with a radio next to her, playing songs she was singing to. Her swimwear was a two-piece blue bikini, with her 9 tails paddling the water to move her floatai. Oh, low there. Come on in. The water's fine. Hecate stopped singing and gestured her over. I'm confused. Why am I here? Also, I'm not dressed for the pool. Ian replied before hearing Hecate snap her fingers, changing her clothes into the swimsuit she made back in the other world. I'll explain. Just hop on over, Hecate urged. Ian shrugged before jumping onto the floatai, and, surprisingly, it didn't topple or sink into the pool.
Now.
Evolutions are special. They're not awakenings. Awakenings are essentially an overhaul of certain body parts. But evolutions essentially melt your body away and rebuild it stronger. This evolution is essential for realizing your full potential. You have fire. It's time to fully unlock the second aspect, darkness. It's better if you don't feel it, trust. So, I pulled you here. Figured a chat was overdue. Hecate explained as her tails catch Ian and pull her on her lap. Right. So, what's this about you creating me? You just pulled me here. Ian asked, feeling strangely comfortable in the fox goddess lap. Despite the image she had of Hecate, she felt no silliness or lewdness in her action. It was a comfortable feeling, being in her embrace like that. It felt like her parent was holding her.
Right.
You were indeed. But that's only half true. I wanted to wait to tell you this because I wanted you to develop on your own.
And you have.
Splendidly so, Hecate spoke as she wrapped her arms around her shoulders and rested her chin on the top of her head. Ian slowly nodded for her to continue. Your soul was taken by me after your death. But you were so damaged that I had to take measures you'd live on. Your soul, essentially, had a ton of holes in it and would have eroded away in the womb. So I filled those holes with part of myself. Part of my balanced authority was bestowed onto you, as it was bestowed onto Yang. In fact, you two are perfect for it, Hecate said, holding out her left hand, where an umbral energy formed above it, one she was familiar with. Then, she raised her right hand, where a pure golden energy formed above her palm. You see now, right? Yin and Yang. Yin stared as the two energies intertwined and made something new. You are, both of you, a part of me. To call you my kids isn't entirely out of the question. Hecate then dispersed the two energies and rubbed the top of Yin's head. Yin paused, considering it before nodding. But why us in particular? And what happened to the brother gods? How will it affect Salem and Ashbin? Yin asked, turning her head around to face the fox goddess. Well, allow me to get a little meta here. Yang past volume 3 really irritated me. Poor girl got shafted by the writers. Blake too, but Yang irked me the most. She was my favorite character on the hero side. And as I grow as a goddess, I need to pick vessels that help me support the balance in the omniverse. Just know that as you grow and develop your powers, you're helping me very much. So, as a balance goddess, I needed to choose my vessels carefully. When I saw you with the qualities your soul had, I had an idea. I placed you in Raven's womb at the moment of conception, where you developed alongside the one who, essentially, completes you. Killed two birds with one stone there, huh? Yang ends up differently and is the perfect counterpart to you, Yin. Hecate explained, continuing to play with the ahog on top of Yin's head. Seeing as how Yin was keeping up, she continued. As for the brothers, they're dead as H*LL. But Ashbin and Salem don't know that. There's a ton of their variants, so I plucked them from their timeline years in the past and placed them in the remnant I was creating. Added a few things here and there, and they're really none the wiser. If my words sound horrible, consider this. They too had the chance to change things for themselves in my remnant, but they're too narrow-minded to diverge from the path they've set for themselves. Sure, some new approaches might be considered, but in the end, Salem wants to die by wiping out humanity or have the world to herself. And Ashbin wants to safeguard humanity and destroy Salem. Hecate shrugged while running her hands through Yin's long hair. I'm not too sympathetic to those two. I have something in mind when dealing with them. For now, I just want to explore everything this new remnant has to offer. Yin replied, finding her head on Hecate's lap. Good to hear, my little dragon. Since you're here, did you want to ask for anything? Oddly enough, she didn't get annoyed when Hecate called her that. Can you change the system? The numbers confuse me, so can you use a tier system? Ian asked after thinking on it for a minute. Snap.
Done.
I knew you wouldn't ask for power, but I'm a tad disappointed you didn't ask for drip. Hecate huffed in disappointment. I'll make my own. I look too good not to take advantage. Ian responded, earning a wide, excitable grin from the goddess. That's my girl, baby. While we're here, want to hear about my adventure? We've got a few hours to go. 2 hours later, Tiger Temple. As soon as Ian had agreed to the evolution, time had unfroze. But what concerned Ghislaine was the giant egg that somehow replaced Ian. As soon as she approached, the aged voice within the altar advised her to simply wait. So that's what she did. The egg seems to have gotten heavier. Ghislaine looked down at the cracked stone floor underneath the egg. Ghislaine's ears perked up, causing her to stand back up. They are here. Protect her. Her importance cannot be understated. The old man spoke again.
Swish.
Amen. Ghislaine simply nodded and beheaded a Grimm that leapt down from the top of the temple. Ghislaine looked at the rolling head of a large monkey Grimm with black fur and 4 long spindly arms that ended in razor-sharp claws. Holding her katana off to the side, Ghislaine harumphed and looked up at the incoming horde of monkey Grimm. Howlers, return to your master or die. Ghislaine demanded, looking up at the dozens of crimson eyes staring down at her. Huh. Whether they understood her words or not, the Howlers all collectively screamed and began leaping down the roof to attack. All seeming H*LL bent on destroying the egg. One dug its claws into the floor and threw a huge chunk of stone at the egg. Humph. A golden arc flew out of Ghislaine's blade, cleanly severing the stone in 2 before grabbing one by the tail after it tried leaping over her. Oh, Ghislaine spun the Howler by the tail, using it as crude nunchaku to swat 4 more Howlers away. The remaining Howlers kept their distance, yet still stared at the egg, rather than Ghislaine. Why are they? Ghislaine muttered in confusion, seeing as they seemed solely driven to get the egg. Ghislaine hummed before tearing the head off the Howler in her hand and crushing it with a flex of her fingers. Crackle. You're not touching the egg. Blake Belladonna Blake had ran up to the temple and was hiding near the top for almost an hour and a half. It was only now that she realized something was wrong. She tried getting closer earlier, but an overwhelming feeling of sheer wrongness stopped her from actually going inside. Then, just recently, Howler Grimm came out of the jungle that surrounded the mountain and a * hailed the temple. It had happened a few times in the past, but never this many. Blake stayed hidden near the steps and watched as flashes of gold light and loud ape-like screams came from the top. Ghislaine needs my help. Just take the steps up. Blake muttered, taking slow, shaky steps up while trying to ignore the feeling of wanting to flee. She got far up enough where she was nearly hit with a Howler that was sent flying over the steps. Whoa! Blake yelped, keeping crouched as she got to the final step and saw Ghislaine cut several Howlers apart in one swing. Blake. Ghislaine casually called out while slamming one Howler's back over her knee, snapping it in half, as if it were a Kit Kat. Blake's ears shot up as Ghislaine's body blurred, nearly falling over when she saw her appear right in front of her, with her blade stabbing a Howler through the face. Though this one was almost completely covered in white armor. Alpha Howlers. Lady Ghislaine, what? Blake started to ask, though she stopped as her eyes drifted to the large black and purple egg. It was a beautiful gradient that went from an almost azure blue to absolute pitch black. More so, Blake felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up at the feeling it was giving her. Blake. Gamble's shroud. There's more. Ghislaine's voice snapped her out of her reverie and back onto the growing horde of Howlers. A dozen of which bigger than the others by a meter and covered in patches of white armor. Blake unsheathed Gamble's shroud and took aim. Ghislaine shifted her weight to the balls of her feet while pointing her blade at the Grimm. Ian Xiaolong, I've never really narrated things in my head before this. Maybe I'm changing? Or am I just becoming more myself? Can't say, but I feel more awake. Like when you just wake up from a really long sleep, and for a while, you're just in a semi-lucid fog. I think the more I evolve and awaken, the more I fully become myself. Anyways. This by **ch is cramped, and I feel sticky.
Time to break out.
I reach my hand out, touching the cool surface of the egg I'm confined within, and give it a light push. Crack, I can't help the sound that escapes my lips. Like stretching your limbs after being motionless for half a day. But better. My mana flares around me, and shatters the egg I was held within. Spider monkey, is that you? I ask, catching the four-armed monkey Grimm lunging at me by the face. Nah, Ben would be way stronger than this. Disregarding the Grimm, I try something new. Spell discovered. Darkness drain. I feel the magic darkness that made up Grimm inside it. And tear it out. It quickly disintegrates, and I'm left with a quarter-sized black ball of mana. Man, I love being a dragon. Speaking of, looking at my body, I can confidently say I look pretty exotic. Probably also arrow **K. Black scales cover my legs, up to my thighs, my arms, up to my shoulders, and I see a few patterns that cover up my private bits. I can also feel the addition of horns and a tail coming out of my lower back. Thankfully, I can turn it off. As good as I look, this grabs too much attention. Though I'm sure I can use this later, maybe as some sort of alias.
Alright.
Enough introspection. It's time to kill these monkeys. No racist this time. 3RD POV. What Ian had missed during her emergence was the colossal black draconic shadow that manifested over the dusky sky of Menagerie, and likely wouldn't learn of until the next day on Remnant Online. Welcome to Remnant Online message boards. You are currently signed in, Sunny Dragon. You are viewing *threads. You have replied to *threads with new replies *private messages *original poster topic. General discussion in News Menagerie Kuo Kuana Tiger Temple Nashtir. Original poster. You know, I was expecting to wake up, help at the docks, maybe eat a little fish, get asked to join the White Fang again, get a cute girl's number, hee boy. But see a giant dragon thing above the Tiger Temple? Yeah, not on my bingo card. Check out the video I took on my scroll. Any detectives know the **K just happened? P_J_Sich word. Novel aficionado. Wait, what is going on in Menagerie? This is some kind of sign. Maybe a dragon faunus was born, If that's the case, I think we may see some new religion star up in the area. So ghost. Bro, what? That's gotta be aura. Ain't no magic or miracle that exists on Remnant. Replying to Xoghost, I stay tier winning, Fox Gult. Fluff and Carnage here. Are you sure about that? Wasn't aura considered magical by people long ago? Think about it. Sunny Dragon. That was so kick *H. I'd go there myself, but my dad would lose his mind if I suddenly took off. Chromacorn. That's gotta be aura or dust though. Like a dust firework in the shape of a dragon. Pretty sick, but nothing supernatural. Jaravaz, not Oshpin. Wait, if you zoom in you can see the Tiger King. I think, too blurry.
Grimm are there too.
So the firework theory doesn't really fit. Gonna see if I can glean anything more though. Master _mask, dragon. Don't care, it's sick as *K. Let me make an AMV off this Nashtir. Nashtir, original poster, all yours dude. Dat Mupjif Raykale, Muscle Mommy Visionary. Yuri is life Tiger Lady. Mungasmjif, Rakshasha. Rar. 3 Kuo Kuana v Wham. A howler's body rocketed through its fellow Grimm before a ball of blue flames set the group ablaze. Blake stared at her, then the howlers being incinerated, then back at Ghislaine, as if she was silently asking her to explain. Oh, it is a beautiful day to *K*T up. Ian snickered while walking forward, next to an ever-casual Ghislaine and a nearly malfunctioning Blake. Men. Good opportunity to thin the herd. Blake, only engage the young ones. Ian, and I will kill the alphas and the elders. Ghislaine stated while keeping her eyes on the growing horde. Elders? I don't see any. No. Blake's breath hitched as two very large feathered snakes covered in dense, white segmented armor made their appearances known in the back of the Howler horde. Quetzalcoatl.
Rare.
Only ever see old ones. Ghislaine hummed, but still didn't look very bothered. Might as well try out my gift then. Ian withdrew Dead Man's Tail from her inventory and took aim before bang, spontaneously shooting through the heads of two howlers who began charging at them. Ian glanced at the barrel of the rifle in confusion before aiming and firing again.
Bang. Bang.
2 more headshots. And she wasn't even aiming at their heads either. Fahaha, what a sick iron. Ian cackled while activating Accelerate. BABABNG. 3 more howlers were disintegrated as the horde charged in and attacked. 2 of the alphas swung their large muscular arms at Ian, who purposefully took the blows by blocking them with her forearms. She spun on her heel and continued blocking the attacks which could easily tear trees out of the ground and crush steel. With her aura flickering, Ian activated Ignition, and her speed tripled, stacked on top of Accelerate. Crunch. Yin's body seemed to blur as she shoved her hand through a charging alpha howler's chest and promptly used it as a shield against the Quetzalcoatl she saw flying over at her. A wet splash hit the alpha's back and melted through its white armor. Whistled Ian. These things don't play. Ian snorted while flicking the body away from her. But aside from the name, they're not very impressive, are they? Ian ducked a bite attempt by said Grimm before grabbing it by the neck and smashing its face into the floor, repeatedly. Blake Belladonna, Ghislaine needs me. What a joke. I just wanted to be useful. What's a few Grimm to the White Fang, after all? That's what I wanted to be. But even now, just killing a few regular howlers is the best I can do. Although, I successfully stab one coming right at me in the face before pulling Gamble's shroud out. While on the other hand, I can see Ghislaine handling 4 aphids and a Quetzalcoatl with only a semi-serious look on her face. The way her blade lights up as she drags her claws along the edge is mesmerizing. She's the Aura Master Beast King for a reason. I can see waves of golden arcs fly out of her blade and burn the Grimm, even without directly touching them. Those that do, incinerate and slice the Grimm to pieces. Ghislaine leaps over acidic spittle and catches the Quetzalcoatl with a powerful stomp to its skull plate that shakes the stone foundation we're standing on. On the other hand, where Ghislaine fights like a skilled master, the way she fights is so strange to see. Apart from the gun she used earlier, she started using her bare hands. It's not the lack of vambraces or hand-to-hand weapons on her fists, but the way she goes about pummeling the Grimm. Her punches and kicks are refined, practiced to an almost machine-like degree. I don't know why, but when I watch her it feels like a beast in chains? There's no other way to really describe the way she fights. It's pure violence. The technique is there, but it feels like a means to an end rather than her style. She's more than just a strength fighter too. She uses her speed just as much as her raw strength. I don't have the experience or know how to properly describe it, but she's captivating. Yo, Blake. We're done here. Or were you just staring at me for my looks? Yin's voice snaps me out of whatever stupor I was in. I can feel some heat rise up my neck as soon as I register her words.
No.
It's just...
Ugh.
Never mind. I hear her snicker after my reply.
Amen.
We finished the rest rather quickly. You've grown in power. Ghislaine turns to Ian and states while looking her up. Speaking of, how did this even happen? I ask, gesturing to the scales covering her legs and arms, plus the horns and lizard tail. Before I get an answer, though, I'm hit with the strongest feeling of dread I've ever felt. The air is sucked out of my lungs without any prior warning or intention as I feel myself nearly collapse on the floor. The feeling is radiating behind me, and so is a rather intense heat. Ian and Ghislaine look seriously at the thing causing this horrible reaction, and I turn my head around just in time to spot it. Ifrit. Ghislaine mutters, with a tone far more emotional than I ever heard from her before. The Ma**Hive Grimm was standing in the forest nearly half a kilometer away, and I could still feel it from here. Half of its body could be seen above even the tallest trees. Its backward horns adorned its head like a twisted crown, which sat above its long white mane. Its burning red eyes were looking right at us, deciding if it was worth it to attack. Then, as if a prayer was answered, it turned away and skulked back into the jungle. Its flame-covered body was easy to track, but nobody would. Pat pat, aya. I feel my breath return as a warm hand rubs the center of my back. Relax. Big Bad is gone now. Breathe. I look up and see Ian trying to console me with a small smile. I don't know why, but it is actually strangely comforting. I nod and manage to return a weak smile of my own. Then I get startled all over again. Crack. The rabbit faunus that was with Ian appeared out of nowhere and delivered the most destructive dropkick to an alpha howler that was slowly approaching us from the stairs. The white armor shattered upon impact, along with some of the stone stairs and probably some of the stone beneath that too. Ian, I found 2 dungeons. But they have the symbols like your necklace. The girl declares, almost as if that dropkick from H*LL just didn't happen. Good job, Shia. You did very good today. Ian nods her head appreciatively and rubs the girl's pretty blue hair, who then starts to make a strange face while staring at Ian's body. Pervert. Shia hears my mutter, but it seems she's a little too into the petting to care. Ah, they arrived, Ghislaine says, looking down the stairs. I follow her line of sight and see Sienna, some white vanguards, and my mom, who looks pretty mad. Tiger Temple. Third POV. While Blake was being interrogated and scolded by a justifiably angry Callie, Ian thought about Shia's words. Symbols? Not just the Ian symbol then. What does that mean? Only I and Yang can enter them? I need to look into that later. For now, let's tune out the meowing and look at the changes. Ian thought while rubbing her inner ear with her pinky to block out the angry tiger lady and wolf lady. System updated. Leveling based on tiers. Status Ian Xiaolong race. Ruined dragon / human hybrid LV. High urban age. 14 HP. 40,000 40ths. 000 MP. 2. 000 000 /2 000 000 titles. Prankster, Child Prodigy, Clan Founder, True Dragon Skills, Accelerate LV, Expert 05, Observe LV, Perfect, Ruined Dragon's Wrath not applicable, Dragon Trigger, Singing LV, Expert 04, Dismantling LV, Expert 08, Repair LV, Expert 04, Cooking LV, Expert 7, Unarmed LV, Master 01, Blades LV, Expert 07, Axes LV, 9, Spears LV, 7, Small Arms LV, Expert 08, Weaponsmithing LV, Expert 08 Strength, Low Urban Building, Vitality, Low to Mid-Urban, Building to City Block, Agility, High Urban Multi-City Block, Perception, High Superhuman Intelligence, High Superhuman Aura, B+ CLA * H Techniques Self-Taught Unarmed, Taekwondo, Wing Chun, Karate, Jiu-Jitsu Awakenings Evolved. Mythic. Blood, bone marrow, internal organs, reproductive system, skin, scales retractable, claws retractable, horns retractable, tail retractable, heart, essence of ruin. Putting the numbers to a tier list helped her understand where she was currently at in terms of overall power. Though she was high urban, she knew using Dragon Trigger would significantly impact her strength, vitality, and perhaps even perception. This helped her gauge what kind of power she was dealing with in terms of the strongest humans on Remnant, and, of course, the Mythic-class H Grimm. When she observed Ifrit, she nearly ran over to fight it in her excitement. Ifrit, the Inferno King race, Grimm Overlord LV, mid-nuclear, city, age, 2,000 HP, 100,000 MP, 5 million strength, mid-nuclear, city, vitality, low nuclear, town agility, low nuclear, town perception, high nuclear, mountain intelligence, average, athlete, skills cannot be gauged magic, fire elemental specialist. To say it was impressive was underselling it. The thing was powerful enough to take a city, and going by its looks, it likely had some rather destructive fire magic. And what on Remnant happened to you? Callie's sultry, yet concerned voice cut through Yin's thoughts and brought her attention to the MILF pulling her face close to hers. Ian blinked in confusion while Callie touched her horns, then her scales, until she felt a strange sensation when her fingers brushed against her tail. Thud said tail swished away from her and smacked against the floor, almost as if it had a mind of its own.
Ho.
Sensitive, huh? What even caused this? Callie asked, though he noted the thoughtful expression on Sienna's face, alongside the almost reverent expressions of the guards who were looking at her. Wah hey. I wanted to touch it first. Shia sulked as she attempted to touch the scaly black appendage. This isn't a petting zoo, Shia. Save the molestation for later. Ian denied her, though Shia latched onto the word later, and silently rubbed her hands together in anticipation.
Yes.
Let's talk back at my place. I have several questions in need of an answer. Callie smiled, sending shivers up the spines of the guards and Blake alike. Ian simply shrugged and gestured down the stairs with her hand. Let's go then. I don't want to be up here all night. Hours later, near dawn, Blake sat on the balcony outside her room, overlooking Kuo Kuana as the orange-red sky and the horizon began to brighten the previously dark one. The conversation they had both said a lot, yet also very little. Of course, it was about Ian and what she was. Nobody had that many animal traits, even among the ancient faunas. The guards probably had to be sworn to secrecy, given that her appearance might have stirred the population into believing she were a god. Thankfully, she can retract that. Blake muttered before sighing. Here I thought anyone could reach a level like that. She's special. Blake then nearly jumped as she felt a hand touch her top ears. Yeah, I admit I am. But that doesn't mean you can't get stronger than you currently are. Blake looked up and saw Ian casually rubbing the top of her head, likely enjoying the feeling of her cat ears. Knock next time, will you? You scared me. Blake huffed, but didn't move her head away. I did.
Twice.
Either you were too tired to notice or you were brooding about your lack of strength. Ian answered. Blake felt her ears flatten against her head. She was right. Even during the fight, she could only kill a few fodder Grimm. She wanted to use her age as an excuse, but she knew Ian was only a year older than her. She wanted to use the excuse that she was special, but to blame her weakness on that felt wrong. How do I get strong like you? Blake asked after a period of silence. You train, fight, and learn what suits your style. You're an agile girl, good with small arms and a blade. Develop that alongside your semblance aura and see if you can pick up a few things about aura arts from Ghislaine. Ian answered, briefly stunning the cat girl.
Air.
I was expecting something cheesy about inner strength. There's a time and a place for that. You want power. Luckily for you, I plan to stay in Kuo Kuana to learn and contribute for a good while before talking to Tamamo. Ghislaine's offered to teach me too. You're more than welcome to join in. Ian then stood up with a knowing smile as Blake turned around and stared at her in confusion.
But
why? I don't really care why a person wants power, but I respect ambition. You have the ambition to try and change the world for the faunas. It'll take more than just you and your power, but I want to see how far you'll grow, what you'll do with that strength. I'll teach you what I can. Ian declared, beginning to leave her room before stopping at the door. Though truthfully, I don't want you dragging my sisters down with subpar skills. And Lord knows I'm never giving you yang. So, consolation? Yeah, I'll go with that. Ian then cleared her throat. Oh yeah. Ghislaine's training starts in 5 hours. Meet us at the beach, or we'll have to drag you out of your room. Ian smiled, walking away as the despair of someone who deeply values their sleep hit Blake like a freight train. And sorry about the lack of a chapter last week. Had this one half done, but there were a few things on my mind. On the bright side, I properly mapped out the rest of the arcs that'll happen before canon. Faunus Unity Arc Underworld Veil Empire Arc Atlas Stardom Arc Beacon Academy Arc. It's a lot more solidified now. What do you think of the system update? How do you like the characterization of Ian? How can I improve in areas you think are lacking? Also, please don't spam 1-star reviews when I don't update. Thanks for reading. Sunny Little Dragon. Hi YH. Ruby yells and tries her best to punch me. Only issue is, well, everything. Her positioning is bad. She's overreaching in her punch. At least her fingers and thumb are properly placed. I step to the side and watch my little sis stumble where I had previously been before grabbing her fluttering red cape. She hates it when I do this, but she needs to learn somehow.
Boah.
I pull back on the cape and throw a quick jab at her ribs that connects quite easily and makes her fall back on the GRA*H. Uff. Yang. Do you have to pull my cape?
Ugh.
I hate hand-to-hand training. Why can't I use my baby? Ruby pouts and gives me her famous puppy eyes. Too bad they only ever work on dad in the family. Oh, quit it. You know this stuff's important. What if some enemy knocks it away? It's big and heavy, Rubes. You got serious power in your arms from swinging it, so why not take advantage and learn how to throw a punch? If to at least stun someone for long enough to grab Crescent Rose. I can see her pout fade away as she stands up and rubs her ribs. Maybe I hit her too hard? I'm still getting used to these changes. It had been around 3 months since I had that weird, not a dream of Ian. Occasionally, I'll have some nights where I'm in severe pain, then wake up early afternoon feeling good. I barely remember Ian going through all that as a kid. How she could stand that at so young, I have no idea. But she has my unwavering respect. Yang. More obvious than my uber rise in strength, though, is this killer body. Big B******, VS. Six-pack abs. Bubble butt. Strong legs. I grew a strong body, really quick. Only downsides seem to be how much food I eat and the occasional pain. Ruby almost died of jealousy when she found out I never needed to use the bathroom anymore. Yang. Quit checking yourself out. Ruby starts shaking me. Aw, come on, sis. Nothing wrong with inspecting my own merchandise. Besides, I was mostly thinking about controlling my power. I was trying to go easy on you, swearsies. Ruby huffs before grabbing my arm and trying to measure it again. Yeep. You're still growing all right. Geez, what did? Ruby looks around, probably to see if Mom and Dad were around before getting up close to me to whisper.
Ian.
Feed you? I know she gave us some gifts. And I'm not saying I'm not happy with mine, but do you think she could give me the same treatment as you? I'll be able to carry way more stuff. Become a dragon to carry more smithing stuff around?
I wonder how Ian would feel about that. No.
First off, Mom and Dad should have one normal kid to raise. Second, this is something that only exists for us, I think. She didn't give me a super soldier serum. She went through this stuff way before I did. Think it has something to do with your bio, Mom?
No.
If it did, I'd guarantee you we'd be a special warrior clan. 3RD POV Crow had been watching his nieces spar in the backyard for the better part of an hour, though they hadn't noticed his presence, due to him sitting high up in a tree above them. And for over half the fight, he was in bird form. He was observing Yang to see the reason for the sudden growth of her body, though he had a really good guess as to who triggered it. That guess was pretty much confirmed once he heard Ruby ask about Ian. They both refused to tell their parents about the cause, mainly due to thinking it would make them angry at Ian for changing Yang like this. As if those two would actually get mad at her for that. The change seems like it'll help Yang as a huntress. Seemed to help Ian anyway. Crow thought to himself while putting his flask away and hopping down from the tree he sat on. Think it has something to do with your bio, Mom?
No.
If it did, I'd guarantee you we'd be a special warrior clan. The two sisters look over to where the huntsman dropped in, shoulders dropping in relief it wasn't one of their parents. Uncle Crow. Ruby jumped on his back, hanging there like a needy koala. Hey, Uncle. How much do you hear? Yang asked with a sheepish grin. Pretty much the whole thing, firecracker. Don't sweat it. I figured your sister had something to do with all this. Crow replied, gesturing to Yang's maturing body.
Oh.
What'd you mean by warrior clan, though? Ruby asked while sneaking peeks at Harbinger. Crow scratched his stubbled chin and raised his brow. You don't know? Some families across Remnant are famous for being huntsman families. Like, say, the Arks, the Winchesters, the Schnee, the Krallos, the Nikos. Way back in the day, these families plus a few more were known across Remnant as the impenetrable wall of humanity. Even killed a few mythic *H stuff of legends. Crow explained, feeling Ruby nearly vibrate with excitement. Yang, not surprisingly, had a far tamer reaction. But he saw the spark of challenge in her eyes when mentioning Mythic-class Grimm. Huh. Wait, Ark? As in Noodle Boy John Ark? Yang, after settling down, asked incredulously. You know, that makes sense.
Dahmer, right?
I remember Ty likes to take you guys down there every spring. Crow concluded, watching as Yang face-bombed. Yeah, Dad is friends with John's dad. Can't believe John's from a legendary warrior clan though. Ruby released her uncle and snorted to herself.
Yeah.
Kid wants to be trained by his dad, but he keeps refusing. I figured I'd teach him how to punch. Also gave him a crazy workout routine too, but I doubt he'll stick to it. Yang shrugged. What routine?
Crow was almost afraid to ask.
Yang laughed while nervously twirling her finger around her blonde locks.
Well,
I think I said 10 kilometers run, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats every day. Crow heaved a sigh of relief. That was a long run, but it was doable. He was expecting something far more intense, since it was Yang who was giving him advice. That sounds fine, Firecracker. Why'd you look so nervous? Yang put her finger on her jaw while looking back at her uncle. I don't know why or how, but I feel like he'll go bald if he does that routine. Dunno why though. Crow wanted to refute. Logically, that reasoning doesn't make sense. Why would he lose his hair if he did that workout routine? But for some inexplicable reason, he couldn't really argue against it. Shaking his head, he decided to shelf that minor worry and focus on what he was truly there for. So, Firecracker, I have to ask, since you've grown up like this, have you experienced feeling anything weird? Like with your aura, semblance, anything like that? Crow asked while looking into Yang's lilac-colored eyes. I guess.
Wait. How do you know about that?
Yang replied, feeling a pit of unease form in her stomach. Crap. Well, I'm a bit familiar with this stuff.
Can you show me?
Need to know what we're dealing with here. I promise. I'll keep this just between us three, okay? Her uncle heard, while Ruby looked expectantly at her sister. It's Uncle Crow, Yang. Ruby quietly added. Yang sighed, silently acquiescing before beginning to pull on the strange fawn of energy within herself. From her chest, a radiating heat could be felt, feeding the energy to her two hands before a brilliant golden flame took form above her palms. Crow bit his lip and watched the fire take form. He knew what it was. Magic.
Still, so cool.
Ruby exclaimed. He wasn't just there for personal reasons after all. Ashbin had gotten in contact with him a week prior, stating he felt magic in the direction of Patch. And since nobody of note besides his family lived here, he checked Summer and Ty's house first. I need to see Ian too. Gods only know how Salem will treat her, being so far away from any large settlement. Crow ran his hand across the back of his head and gestured Yang to stop. As soon as the flame dispersed, Crow readied another question. You want to be a huntress still, right? A question which Yang immediately nodded to. Of course. Why? Her voice laced with suspicion and anticipation. Answer this last one first, Firecracker. Why do you want to be a huntress? No answering for her, Ruby. Crow warned the previously excitable Ruby before she could open her mouth. I want to hear this from the heart, Yang. I know it's a lot to ask a 13-year-old, but Yang shook her head and flashed an ambitious smile. I want to travel the world. Maybe even beyond. At first, I wanted to prove to Ian that I wasn't going to stay weak. That I was going to catch up to her and beat her so we could stay together as we shoot ahem. Yang coughed into her fist before continuing. But that changed. Except for the defeating part. I want to fight her.
No, now.
I want to get stronger, so I can travel the world with her, help a few people, and maybe even do some good along the way. Of course, when the time's right I'll drag Ruby along too. Ruby nodded thrice, though it seemed she already knew Yang was going to say that. Hearing her aspirations, Crow smirked and thought how perfectly young her ambition was. She was always an adventurous, if a little brash, kid. Well, it's a fine goal. Not complicated, some room to add a few more goals in there, and best of all, not unrealistic, like saving all of Remnant or wiping out every Mythic-class Grimm. Crow snorted to himself in amusement. How about I introduce you to a friend of mine? He knows some stuff about magic and can teach ya. He's a family friend too, so don't think I'm introducing you to a weirdo, alright? Yang blinked in surprise before the offer registered for her. Whoa, really? Man, I thought I'd have to wait till I met Ian again. Controlling fire comes easy, but I bet there's more I can do. Yang muttered in excitement. Yup. You'll just need to show him like you did me. Oh, and your parents too. They'll need to know why Oshpin's taken an interest in you at this stage. Oshpin. Both RWBY and Yang exclaimed at once. Oh. Yeah, I totally forgot to mention his name, huh? Needless to say, the Xiaolong/Rose household was pretty hectic that night. And though Yang's physical changes were hard to miss, some of the more subtle ones would go by unnoticed. One such being the fixation on her sister and the subsequent rush she got when thinking about seeing her again. Though she wasn't alone in such feelings. And got sick last week. Plus the lack of any good RWBY fix doesn't motivate me as much. Hope you enjoyed the Yang update regardless. Back on the grind, hey dude. One of the patrolling white vanguards called out to his patrol partner. Both being young men who signed up to join the White Fang after returning to Menagerie. They had expected a more intense post, but they knew guarding Kuo Kuana was important too. Especially now, since an apparent technological revolution swept through the town. Yeah, bro? The other guard answered, trying to stay awake after the long shift. Is it me? Or are those two hotties training with Madame Titty Kitty Ghislaine herself? The first guard asked incredulously, only to get smacked upside the head by his friend. First of all, don't call her that. If Sienna hears that, we'll both have to clean the latrines with our toothbrushes. And yeah, haven't you heard? They're staying with the Belladonna family. That black-haired girl is responsible for the wind turbines, solar panels, firearms, and a bunch of the other stuff that Kuo Kuana's begun to use. The other guard's voice tinged with respect. Wait, really? Guess I'm out of the loop. I just know a ton of stuff's been happening. Like Lady Blake getting a tutor. The first guard admitted, sheepishly looking away as his friend looked at him as if he were stupid. He very well might be. UHHUH. That's her. Dip A*H. You only stay up to date with news when it involves girls. Come to think of it. Didn't you join the White Fan to score? The second guard prodded. Welp, I think we patrolled enough over here. Let's go to the docks. The first guard ignored the judging glare from his friend and mechanically turned away. Meanwhile, down at the beach, Ian was sparring with Ghislaine. Her fists blurred as they attacked the dark-skinned beauty, making loud metallic, clang noises every time Ghislaine parried her. With frustration evident on her face, Ian delivered a low sweet kick to pressure the swordmaster, just to get kicked in the face by her sandals. A large groove carved out in the sand by Yin's body as she slid back from the force. *T. I'm not that much slower than you, Ian muttered while wiping the sand off her face. Problem isn't strength or speed. It's your fighting style, Ghislaine remarked, glancing over at Shia and Blake, who were sparring themselves. It was going just as she expected it to, with Shia completely dominating Blake, who was struggling to even stay on her own 2 feet. Every hit, even holding back as much as she could, would send the poor cat faunus flying. On the bright side, this was improving her dodging skills, so Ghislaine saw no issue with continuing as they are. What? Those moves are practiced. What's wrong with them? Ian asked, getting Ghislaine's attention once more. The tiger faunus looked up at the afternoon sky and hummed to herself in thought. Then, as if she had an idea, she smiled and walked up to Ian and straightened her posture. Relax. Let me show you. Here. Ghislaine then got behind her and put her hand on her hips. Yeah, okay. Ian blinked, releasing the tension in her muscles while Ghislaine moved her body, as if playing with an action figure. Soon enough, she was put into a more relaxed, yet bestial-looking stance. Though Ghislaine was still behind her, seeming to be lost in thought. "Try punching," Ghislaine demanded, keeping her hands on Yin's upper arms. Yin nodded and throwing punches, though now being manually corrected by Ghislaine. They were fiercer. While still following some technique, her punches became more refined, yet now holding a savageness to them. On the 100th punch, Yin was surprised to see a notification appear in front of her. Martial style created. Black Dragon Arts. She was almost so surprised she nearly missed the fact that Ghislaine was now holding her legs and helping her kick too. Yin lowered her foot to the ground and stared at the Tiger King, who was looking at her with an intense gleam in her eye. "You are very interesting. You learn. Or perhaps your body learns things very fast," Ghislaine muttered while shamelessly feeling up Yin's arms, legs, and hips. "Rather than that. How'd you even do that?" "I'm pretty confident in hand-to-hand fighting, but it feels like you helped me rebuild from the ground up," Yin asked, seeing the white pair of ears on her head twitch in delight. Ghislaine stood up with a small satisfied smile and nodded. "You held yourself back. Learning new moves is good. But everyone has a different fighting style that suits them. Martial arts are used by humans who use techniques to beat and subdue other humans, and by humans who use techniques and power to destroy Grimm. You are not a human. Better. The moves are mechanical, precise ways for you to keep using it. Instincts and technique are hard to master together. No human I've seen can do it. Faunas have it easier." Ghislaine explained the best way she could, taking a seat on a rock and patting her lap.
"Come, sit."
She gestured. "Well, I'm glad we're becoming closer." Yin shrugged and sat on her lap, feeling her arms wrap around her stomach. "Look at Blake." Ghislaine pointed at Blake, who was backflipping and leaping away from the rather explosive hits from Shia. Her instincts as a cat faunus help her with fighting. All she needs is to train and learn techniques. For Shia, she needs to increase speed and learn techniques. Over time, they'll blend together with their instincts. "You were fighting your instincts. Listen to them," Ghislaine explained, seemingly content as she rested her chin atop Yin's head, while watching her ahogue sway due to the soft breeze. "How long you think it'll take to get them up to an acceptable level?" Yin asked, hearing a low hum escape Ghislaine's throat. "A lot of Grimm killing and real combat against people would be needed, which is why the caliber of warriors gets higher during wartime. The weak get weeded out, and the strong rise above. Not many can do it." Ghislaine's words would have discouraged most, but Yin instantly thought of a fantastic way to do that in a short time. Time to finally visit that dungeon then. "Hey, Mittens. Lola, you can stop sparring." Shia and Blake paused and looked over to Yin, who had shouted at them. No, because I'm a cat," Blake grumbled, though Shia looked confused. Lola, yeah, sparring's over. Shia, that one dungeon you found? The one with the black mark? We're going there tomorrow," Yin declared as she stood up, almost tripping due to Ghislaine's tail wrapped around her hips.
"Ah, sorry."
"I got comfortable," Ghislaine apologized as she too stood up. Yin pet her tail with a slight nod. "No problem. Let's head back for now. I'm not sure what to expect in the dungeon, but it doesn't hurt to prepare." As they began to walk back, Blake cleared her throat and sent a few inquisitive glances at Yin. "You know you could just speak up, Blake. What's on your mind?" Blake hid an ** head blush and looked away before answering. "What are these dungeons anyway? I've never heard of them." "Really? You'd think stone doors out in the wilderness would attract attention." Yin hummed thoughtfully, seeing Shia nod in agreement. "They're not exactly subtle either. Finding them was way easier than the ones we found before," Shia clarified, sharing a look of understanding with Yin. "You mean the ruins? The ones all across Remnant?" This time Ghislaine asked. She hadn't seemed as interested in the conversation earlier, though, to be fair to her, she usually only speaks up when it involves fighting. Or, in Yin's case, her dry attempts at flirting. "Ruins?" Yin asked, taking a keen interest in the possible history behind the dungeon doors. If they had always been there, there ought to be some sort of documentation of them. As far as she knew, They were magical in nature and led to a completely separate world. That zombie city dungeon was a little too realistic for it to only be a created dungeon solely for her.
Yup.
Old ruins. Been here since forever? Nobody can get in. No digging around it, no blowing through it, no drilling. Nothing.
You
Can enter them. Ghislaine looked at Ian with a small, nearly imperceptible smile. I can. We all can if you're with me. It'll solve that training issue you were talking about earlier. Ghislaine pulled Ian's body into hers, as if she'd won a large stuffed animal at some carnival. Krrrr. Is she purring? Ian looked up at Ghislaine, who looked as if she found her favorite toy after losing it for years. You're very, very interesting. I want no need to come along. I need this. Ghislaine stated as Shia threw herself onto her defiantly.
Ah.
Hey, you hugged Ian enough. It's my turn, Shia demanded while attempting to play tug-of-war with Ghislaine. Sigh, Blake. Note this down. Popularity can be a double-edged sword. Ian ignored the somewhat cute display of a girl and a grown woman fighting over her and looked at Blake. Why do I need to note it down? I'm not going to be popular. Blake denied with a shake of her head. Ian shot her a smug grin. Your mom's got a whole bakery. You look just like her. Do the math. Whether you like it or not, the Bella booty will shine through. Ugh. Please no. The next day, Belladonna Manor Ian woke up to a floral perfume. One she'd a asterisk associated with the manor. More specifically, one she a asterisk associated with Callie. As soon as she opened her eyes, the MILF white fang leader filled her vision. Callie was seated on her bed, smiling down at her as she woke up. What is? Callie? Ian shook of the post-sleep fugue and stared at the older faunus woman. Good morning, dear. Just opening up the blinds to wake you up. Though, I do admit, I got a little absent-minded while looking at that face. You look so much like your mother after all. Callie smiled, rubbing the top of Ian's head before standing up. You won't find me complaining. Just surprised is all. Ian shrugged and sat up, popping and cracking her back and joints. Aha, glad to hear it. Do you mind if I ask you something, though? About Blake's future popularity? Callie's smile somewhat changed mid-sentence. Ian looked at the woman and casually slid her sheets to the side before fixing her clothes. Was I wrong? After all, she looks like you, right? She's going to grab some attention no matter what she does. Fufufu, if only you were a few years older. I'm not mad about the comment, actually. You're right. I was actually thinking. You plan to go to Beacon, no? If you did, please consider helping Blake get out of her sh*LL when she herself attends. Her dad might not agree, but I know her getting a boyfriend or girlfriend is simply inevitable once she leaves our little island. All I want is for you to vet them. Or maybe even be said girlfriend? Wouldn't that be nice? Callie cooed. Is Blake planning to go to Beacon in the first place? I thought she wanted to join up with the White Fang. Ian asked while standing up, ignoring the hint at dating her daughter. Well, if that plan of yours works, the White Fang's offensive operations won't really be as needed as before. In fact, we'd be recognized as a legitimate army, won't we? If Blake wants to officially join said army, she'd need to complete combat school. Plus, in Vale she could get another perspective and maybe even change some things from within. She started talking about going to Gyra and but it's still up in the air. Callie replied. Well, if I bother attending, maybe. At this point I could easily be a teacher. Actually, I'll be in Vale around that time anyway. Yang's going to attend the same year as Blake. Ian added while walking out of her room. I will talk about it more later. I believe your gang is ready and waiting outside. Callie smiled before walking off, with a noticeable sway in her hips. Try again in 2 years, Callie. Ian smirked and took her leave. 1 hour later, finding the door was as easy as Shia had explained it to be. It was a white stone walkway leading down, where a stone door stood. A black, Ian symbol present in the middle of the doorframe. It almost seemed to draw the eyes in, with how dark the emblem was. As soon as they opened the door, they were met with a night sky, though with the bright light of neon lights and screens nearly blinding them. Appearing on a decimated roof, Ian nearly hopped in excitement once, she saw the notification. C-rank dungeon. Arasaka Tower entered raid. Arasaka Tower. Bosses killed. 0 to 1 special objectives fulfilled. 0/3. Wake the F***K up, samurai. We got a city to burn. And, yeah, Bioa. By the way, when I said I was unmotivated to do RWBY, it was like, say you play a game, like Elden Ring for 6 weeks straight? Eventually, you get a bit tired of it. That's what I mean. Trying to avoid burnout. Also, I'm thinking of putting up a Patreon and doing a RWBY Multiverse FIC. More easygoing. Less of a solidified plan. Just writing whatever the F***K looks entertaining in my head.
Ick.
Opinions? Thanks for reading. Arasaka Raid. There was only one thing on Yin's mind when they stepped through. What year is it? Yin looked around, seeing the large rooftop they were on. Past a few generators and electrical boxes they were sequestered between, there were easily over 24 Arasaka guards, black-clad in high-tech armor and guns. There were even a few less armored ones covered head to toe in light armor, armed with special katanas, what looked to be mantis blades and submachine guns. There were also a few turrets set up which seemed very familiar. So, it's the prelude to the Arasaka bombing, huh? Yin smirked devilishly, then turned her attention to her group. Strangely, aside from being awed at the view of Night City from atop the Arasaka Tower, they seemed to be looking at something right in front of them. That immediately caught Yin's attention. Wait, do you guys see a screen? All three looked to Yin and nod. I do. It says to raid Arasaka Tower. Ghislaine responds calmly. What is even happening? The ruins led to this place, but we're not in Menagerie, are we? Blake asks, furrowed in worry. Shia merely sends Yin a knowing glance and dismisses the screen.
Right.
This is Arasaka Tower. Think of this almost like a simulation of another world. Our objective is to kill our way in and essentially destroy or steal what amounts to a doomsday device called Mikashi. It's a piece of technology in this world that can download your mind, kill your body, and keep your soul in captivity until the Arasaka Corporation sees fit to release you and put your engram into a new body. Though it's likely that they'll just use you. It's advertised as immortality for the rich. Yin explained, and though Ghislaine seemed to calmly accept it, Yin saw disgust hidden in her eyes. While Blake's reaction was far more visceral. That's just
slavery.
What kind of? Vile. Blake stopped talking, closing her eyes and pushing her revulsion and anger down. We're going to nuke the building too. Honestly, this world should be wiped clean. Corporations took control of the planet, and they ruined it. Animals are all pretty much endangered species in most places. There's an abundance of trash everywhere. Radiation is present in many areas since failing countries decided to throw nuclear weapons and biological weapons at one another. Then there are incredibly dangerous rogue artificial intelligences roaming around.
So, yeah.
Most of this place is unsalvageable, so don't feel too bad about ensuring a nuke decimates this part of the city. Yin explains, this time seeing the shock on everyone's faces as she explains some of the events of the world. What's a nuke? Blake asked quietly. Oh yeah. Remnant. Yin nasally exhaled. Big bomb. Now, be careful not to underestimate these guys. They're cyborgs. I'm not sure how hard their weapons will hit our aura, so keep an eye on your scroll. Yin informed. And finally, you too. Yin looked to Ghislaine and Shia. Save some for Blake. Though Yin said that, she was the first to immediately walk out of cover, instantly alerting the Arasaka guards, who all aimed their weapons at her. Clearing her throat, Yin casually began to speak. Konnichiwa, Mina-san. Now that I have your utmost attention, how's your health plan? Thinking about it from the guards' perspective, the whole engagement went a little something like this. The guards started looking at each other in confusion before immediately firing on her. Time almost seemed to slow for them, as they saw the bullets flying at the admittedly bodacious woman, only to see said woman lunge at the closest guard in heavy armor faster than they'd ever seen even the most borged-up man they knew. Her arms thrust up as her body lowered, successfully making said guard fly straight up at least 10 feet. More terrifying, is that she leapt up in the air, caught him by his ribs, and delivered the most savage powerbomb they'd ever see. The resulting force immediately made the 7 guards and 1 ninja fall on their collective A** keys, as the previously intact guard had his bones pulverized, along with his armor and cybernetics. Apparently, it's great. The woman then got up, with some shining barrier obstructing their gunfire, as if she was testing the strength of their weapons, and found them lacking. Always wanted to godfree someone. Looks like their weapons aren't too much more damaging than remnants. But I guess that makes sense, given how tough Grimm armor can be. Ian snorted before pulling out the Malorian Arms pistol and blowing the head off a ninja, who leapt off an electrical box and aimed to take her head with a swing of his blade. She then summoned some black pistol that looked nothing like anything they had ever seen, being a twisted black revolver with horns. She spun on her heel and fired what could only be a miniature railgun empowered by blue flames, which instantly annihilated 2 more heavily armored guards. "We need reinforcing GHK." One guard attempted to call out, but alas, the black-haired woman wasn't their only issue. Somehow, they missed the muscular woman with what seemed to be animal cybernetic attachments, cutting through their turrets with a katana, as if they were butter. When 2 ninjas finally took action, they found themselves quickly overwhelmed when said animal woman perfectly deflected their blades and sliced them both in half with a casual horizontal swipe of her blade. She even seemed a little disappointed. Crash, and it became even worse for the poor Arasaka forces, who were now being turned to mulch and blood mist by what looked to be like a bunny girl with a Ma**hive black hammer. The situation was almost funny to them. If they ignored the sickening crunch and splatter noises their fellow employees made when the overwhelming power of said bunny girl turned them into meat patties. Wow. They're not very strong, but why is there so much metal inside them? "Shia," the said bunny girl exclaimed, while casually dodging bullets and gunfire. Then, to make things better, there was another. A girl with cat ears, a kid, really, snuck behind a guard and slipped her blade through the gap in his helmet, severing his carotid artery and quickly retreating, her moves very ninja-like. Ian said they were cyborgs, which is Blake ducked under a ninja's mantis blades and opened fire on him, though her small-caliber rounds merely bounced off his subdermal armor. Just great. Blake blocked the flurry of thrusting blades coming at her before kicking off the ninja and stabbing down straight at his throat, piercing straight through using her body weight and momentum. Blake pulled her blade out of the cyborg's neck and took deep breaths. These were her first human kills, and she was nearly hyperventilating from the sight of blood. The sounds of battle quieted down, and Blake felt a hand grab her shoulder.
Easy.
Yin's voice snapped her attention away from the corpse. Looking up, she noticed they had finished killing off the rest of the roof's defenses. Ian helped Blake up, holding her steady. "I'm... Oka, no you're not. You'd have to do this eventually, but I know it isn't easy. You've never really even considered taking a person's life. But I'm sure you've thought, deep down you may have to help your people." Ian stared into her eyes, seeing the amber-hued orbs widen slightly. "Take into consideration that they'd kill you if you didn't take them out first. I'll give you 5 minutes. We're gonna loot the bodies before going down," Ian said, patting her back and walking away to loot the dead.
Huh. I really am weak.
Blake sighed to herself, leaning her back against a wall and adopting a thoughtful expression. "You're 13. I think this is pretty good. We took on maybe 30 super soldier guys. You'll get used to it. Our world is pretty violent too, so it's best to get this kind of thing out of the way early, right?" Shia commented while prying the guns from underneath the bodies. Watching the cheery bunny girl looting decimated bodies while trying to cheer her up actually looked comical enough to take Blake's mind out of the shock of having killed. Ghislaine only really seemed interested in the katanas, measuring them up to her own blade. But Ian stripped armor, weapons, and even cybernetics off their bodies before dumping them in her inventory with a greedy smile. "Okay. I'm good." Blake straightened herself and nodded to Shia with a grateful smile. "Glad I could help." Shia returned a cheeky smile before a whistle caught their attention. Ian and Ghislaine were by the door leading to the stairs down, both looking at them expectantly. "Glad to see you've recovered. Ready to head down?" Yes, Captain. Shia replied to Ian with a shout and salute. Rolling her eyes in semi-amusement, Ian walked in, immediately shooting the head off a ninja who tried to hide above them with her Malorian arms pistol. Thud, the body hit the floor unceremoniously, while Ian recalled the lore of cyberpunk. If I remember correctly, Johnny and Blackhand came in at different entrances. They brought the nukes, so I wonder how. Her thoughts came to an immediate halt as the sound of a helicopter was heard outside. Yin's eyes widened in realization and a bit of excitement as she realized what this could mean. Opening the door, she witnessed the man himself hop out of the A*halt helicopter, gun in hand. Someone got here first. Who the F***K are you people? Rogue aimed her gun at Ian, who was fixated on Johnny, as he was on her, though for different reasons. Holy **T, it's Keanu Reeves. Ian muttered. God damn, she's fine. Rogue, are Arasaka at war with King models or something? Ones with good taste in guns, I see. You part of Blackhand's team? Johnny asked, eyes peeking over the rim of his shades.
Yeah.
Smasher's on his way, so we should hurry. Don't worry, we'll walk in front. I can already tell your friends don't trust us. Ian said, glancing at an on-edge Rogue and an indifferent Spider Murphy. F***K, it sounds good to me. Let's King go. Johnny replied, both heading down the stairs. Unfortunately for whoever the Arasaka guards had under their payroll, they were entirely underprepared for the carnage coming their way. And created the first Lokoa chap search my name here on Patreon. First chappies free. Like a taste test. Let me know if you enjoyed. Arasaka Raid 2 bang bang. The deafening noise of gunfire drowned out a large room within Arasaka Tower. It looked to be designed after a Japanese Zen garden, with a large rock in the center of a carefully cultivated sand pattern that was currently being ruined by Ian and Ghislaine, who sent quite a few guards flying into the sand. Though while Ian and her group were busy killing and looting cyborg corpses, Johnny, Rogue, and Spider Murphy were handling the nuke, having put it in an elevator and shooting out the cable so nobody could get to it in time to disarm it. Ian was a bit disappointed when she heard Morgan Blackhand was at the bottom of the tower, keeping Adam Smasher busy. She had wanted to meet the legendary Solo too. But it's not as if this was a one-time only dungeon, right? Bombs ready. Get the rotors spinning. We're on our way. Rogue called out from the hallway they came in from, watching the two women easily decimate the guards in suits who were protecting the place. Johnny looked at Rogue and shook his head before pulling out a device. Not done yet. Still need to feed this to their subnet. Blake and Shia were a little busy leaping onto the second floor, gunning down and smashing the guards who were shooting at Ian and Ghislaine from above, both sharing a glance at each other when they watched Ian spin her guns on her fingers and eviscerate two heavy boarded-up guards with WIRM. Rather than being bored, there was nobody strong to fight. She looked to be enjoying herself in the carnage.
See?
They got the spirit. Now let's get to it. Security'll be focused on them while we get what we need. Johnny smirked and walked into the now decimated room. Special objective fulfilled. 1/3 nuke armed. Seeing this, Ian smirked and put her guns away in her inventory. Seeing her unarmed, 2 Arasaka ninjas leapt into the room and attempted to slice her to pieces. As soon as they were a meter away, Ian took a half step and rotated herself, raised her right leg and broke the neck of one ninja with a kick that spun his head fully around, twice. Sharmata. The surviving ninja immediately backtracked as soon as he saw his comrade die, but it was too late, as Ian had already grabbed him by the ankle and spun around, slamming him into a metal door and smashing it, along with his body, to pieces. Hey, we got 4 minutes. Spider tried reaching ya, but couldn't. We're going to upload this. Keep the room secure, and we'll guarantee you a ride out of here. Rogue called out as she ran with Johnny to another guarded room. Ian and Ghislaine suddenly felt a small shaking through the floor and shared a mutual look of interest. You should hurry then. Ian casually replied, walking over the bodies and approaching Ghislaine. I want to fight him, Ghislaine stated, almost petulantly. So do I. He's probably the strongest person in the world here, though I'd have preferred his newer body. Ian replied, as Blake and Shia came down. "Wait. Who is?" Blake asked, a little out of breath from the exertion and killing. "Atom Smasher. You know those famous Atlas robots? The big ones? He's like them, but deadlier. Way deadlier." Ian said, though she sounded unsure, given that she's never seen a paladin in her remnant. I want to test my strength too." Shia confidently stepped up. Ian bit her lip. They were all in the dungeon together, and she did want them to grow stronger. But the prestige, the thrill of fighting Atom Smasher was too much to paw *H up on. "If you let me solo him, I'll do you one favor each," Ian stated, watching the three turn to look at her with surprise, a lewd smile and a slight smirk. "Amen, okay." Ghislaine pat her shoulder and took a seat on the large rock. "Well, if you insist. No takesies backsies." Shia set her hammer down and sat on the sand. Blake simply shrugged and gave Ian a wry smile. "I wasn't planning on fighting a super android anyway." As soon as they decided that, Johnny and Rogue came rushing back, only to see Atom Smasher burst into the room from the second floor with a company of elite guards. Atom Smasher looked down at them, armed with a heavy machine gun, hyper-focused on Johnny, until crackle the sound of Ian cracking her knuckles drew his attention to her. Time limit coming. 4 o'clock minutes until detonation. Ejection from dungeon upon reaching midnight. Ignition activated. Accelerate activated. That's enough time to enjoy myself. You guys strip them for parts," Ian said before her body blurred and she appeared right in front of the Borg legend, kicking him through a wall. The guards, who barely even registered how fast she had appeared in front of Smasher, opened fire on her. Though 2 of them were immediately grabbed by Ian and used as tunfaws as she ran after Smasher. Playing Gate K9, Ian appreciated the addition of music, as she planned to milk this fight for as long as she could. As soon as she ran in, she was immediately forced to use one of the elite guards as a shield, as Smasher had recovered fast and swung his fist at her almost as fast as she'd kicked him. The poor guard was turned to giblets as his destroyed body flew into a wall and stuck to it, like a piece of disgusting art. "You're not bad for meat," Smasher complimented as he was going for a powerful front kick. Ian quickly spun to the side and smashed her remaining tonfa into his Borg face, popping the man's head like a fruit gusher. Adam growled, annoyed by the sudden splash of blood and brain matter that got on his face. But Ian was already making her next move, having lined up and executed a powerful haymaker into his stomach, sending the cyborg monster flying back into the wall on the opposite side of the room, despite his heavy weight. "And you're not as shabby as I thought, for a King Tin Man. Let's go, you big by **. Ian snarled with a mocking grin. Adam immediately freed himself from the wall and crouched, catching Ian's foot mid-kick before blasting her body into the floor with a punch that would have annihilated even Morgan. Black Hand, if he could ever catch him. Yin's aura flared in protest, but it was the missile Smasher fired from his hand that forced Ian through the now collapsing floor. Inwardly, Smasher was rather surprised. His opponent, an organic meatbag, was actually somehow able to withstand his fists and artillery. He. An ominous laughter that made Smasher clench his jaw came from the newly added hole in the floor. Cautiously, he walked over to the hole and aimed his hand down at the flaming room he smashed Ian into, though somehow she was nowhere to be found. 2 minutes remaining. Crash! Smasher felt his legs being grabbed by 2 hands which burst through the solid metal floor, dragging him down into flames before a fist that rattled his brain hit him square in his metal jaw. As soon as he caught himself, though, he felt his arm grabbed by an incredibly hot source. Yin's hand clamped down around his wrist, radiating blue flames that slowly began to melt the surface metal of his Borg body. Kriwak! Smasher nearly felt himself black out for a moment as Yin's elbow smashed into his face, full force, which he returned with an uppercut to her sternum before pulling her in and smashing her through several marble walls, managing to get his huge hand around her head and smash her face into the floor, which instantly shattered from the extreme force. Though expecting a knockout at the very least, he nearly screamed in frustration when he only saw a dimming energy around her, along with a malicious, smiling face look up at him. Boom! The next thing he knew, he was airborne. His body flying through metal before it hit reinforced GLA*H. Smasher knew he had been hit so hard he flew outside. He tried to correct himself midair, but the floor he had been punched out of suddenly exploded in a flash of bright blue flames, and Ian was quickly flying at him, not letting the chance slip her by. Smasher crossed his arms as he saw her rearing up for a kick that would likely kill him if combined with a drop. Ian simply grinned at this and utilized Mana Hike, using platforms of magic to kick off of, increasing her descent speed. Unexpectedly, she paw******** head by Smasher and let her long black tail loose before catching him by the neck with it.
What
the care you? Adam roared, feeling a powerful constriction against his throat as he was forcefully pulled down, where Ian grabbed him and set him up in a Piledriver pose. Seeing as he was about to hit the ground headfirst though, he knew he would never get an answer. Crash. The cyborgs had exploded on impact, along with the ground as several onlookers and the media stared in awe and fright at the woman gracefully landing on the would-be legend's corpse. Ho, could have been better. Ian clicked her tongue as notifications popped up. Special objective fulfilled. 3/3. Killed Adam Smasher. Ensured Johnny Silverhand's survival. 10 seconds remaining. Ian gave a pleased snort before looking to the crowd that was about to die. Wanna see a magic trick? I'm about to make Arasaka disappear. Ian held out her hands toward the tower. The crowd's eyes widened, then they knew no more. Still, the broadcast would be aired. And a new legend was unexpectedly born that night. Midnight. Congratulations. Rewards dispensed. HF Muramasa sword. Arlecchino outfit. 10 dragon fruits DXD. All in all, it was a good dungeon. And made a second look a chap. Once it reaches 5 chaps, I'll release the first one here on WN. It's www.patreon.com/Siko Secret Benefactor, level up. X2, first thing Ian saw as soon as she got out of the dungeon was the sweet notification that she had leveled up once again. Though it looked like she hadn't been the only one to do so. Ghislaine, Blake, and Shia, who had been several feet from her upon their return, had received their own level-ups. Ghislaine level up X2. Shia level up X2. Blake level up X7. Though Ghislaine and Shia only got 2, Blake seemed to have gotten several. Which made Ian think, did we just taxi Blake through that? I'll have to remember that for later. Apart from their odd expressions, there was something else of import that happened after returning from the dungeon. The sheer amount of advanced cybernetics that were piling up in front of them. All clean and in perfect condition, as if they just got off the shelves. There was at least 100 or more pieces of very advanced technology that was leagues ahead of Atlas capabilities piling up in front of the 4. It stopped after a minute, with Adam Smasher's cyborg parts scattered on top of the pile, like the cherry on top of a bizarre sundae. This, and the weapons in my inventory. Ian paused, placing her thumb on her chin thoughtfully, considering her options. Shia started poking the arm cannon taken directly from Adam Smasher, imagining how Hajime would react if he saw something like this. Ghislaine, do you think there's anyone on Menagerie who could make sense of all these cybernetics? Ian asked, ignoring the amused bunny girl picking up the metal hand and acting like Hajime in front of a slightly amused Blake. On Menagerie. Maybe not. But Sienna and Jira have a lot of contacts. Are we going with that company idea we talked about? Smirking, Ghislaine asked as her tail swished in what looked to be excitement. Company. Blake's ears perked up as she turned her attention away from Shia and on Ian and Ghislaine's conversation.
Oh.
Yeah, the one where you start a competing business against Atlas subordinate companies and help bring legitimacy to Menagerie. Shia chimed in, tilting up some imaginary GLA** keys. Ian looked at the rabbit girl. Clearly impressed she even retained that much of a plan she only brought up once. Hey, were you thinking I was dumb? Shia pouted at Ian's shocked and impressed expression. Ian simply held back a grin and shook her head in denial.
No.
I just never went into much detail about it. Thing is, to get my plans going, I need a big presence in the world. I brought technology to Kuo Kuana, not only to improve their lives here, but to earn some recognition. Dustless power sources discovered in Kuo Kuana, brand new weapon technology, and now, cybernetic tech. That gets attention. Quickly, due to the wonderful thing called the net. Blake's eyes widened. It made sense, after all. Maybe to normal people, things like the turbines and solar panel technology wasn't interesting, but to the people higher up in power? To Atlas? SDC? It would definitely draw their attention. But just this wasn't enough for Ian. No, now she was considering bringing beyond military-grade cybernetic and weapon technology to the light. The only concern she had at that moment was if she could handle all that attention. The SDC could go after you. Blake let her worry slip.
Huh.
Yeah, that's definitely an option, considering what I brought to Menagerie. Ian replied with a smirk as she put the cybernetics into her inventory. The large pile of metal disappearing into motes of blue light. But first off, I'm not scared of them. So even if they do discover my identity, at worst, it'll delay some things I have in mind. But there comes the actual company part. Ian said, leisurely walking back toward Kuo Kuana with them. She's using the company as a front. When the announcement of the company comes out, she plans to announce herself as the representative of their leader. It works, seeing as Ian is very beautiful, young and outgoing in the eyes of Kuo Kuana's people. She's helped them set up that technology, but she never claimed to have made it. Ghislaine said, her compliment actually making Yin's face heat up a little. Smooth. Shia shouted out, horrified at how effortless Ghislaine made Ian blush. A simple side glare from her made her shut up though. Ahem.
Yes.
I'll be seen as the representative after we officially announce that company. For now, we're garnering attention as Kuo Kuana's secret benefactor, as we've been called online. Ian clarified. I see. And Tamama will be a lot more interested in seeing you if that company launches. Very smart. Blake muttered, looking at Ian in a new light. Someone as, or even more ambitious than Adam. And he was the most ambitious person Blake knew. It's why she began to develop feelings for him. He was Pa**hyanate, so sure of his purpose and dedicated. All these traits and more, she saw in her new friend. Oh, Tamamo is already interested in talking. But I'm waiting until after we get this company underway. Gives me more leverage. She won't be swayed to our side easy, so enhancing our potential in her eyes will make convincing her easier. Military tech beyond Atlas is too tempting, especially considering the Faunas aren't united. Ian explained, further impressing Blake. But that's enough about that. Let's do some sparring later. All of us. See where our strength's at now. Blake's ears twitched at the eager tone in Yin's voice. She was beginning to really admire her. But was it necessary to be such a battle freak? 2 days later, Mantle, a black-haired man in his mid-30s, sat at an antique desk, the window behind him letting in the cool night air as remnants moon hung low in the sky. His fingers flipped through an extensive report brought to him by his subordinates. An interested, if murderous gleam shone in his eyes as he read said report regarding Kuo Kuana's recent attention. Sigh, I know Jacques won't take this lying down. Any minute now. The man sighed before calmly talking to himself within his dimly lit room. Ring ring re, the man picked up the old, wired phone next to his desk with an expectant half-smirk. Lucius. The prideful, pompous voice of Jacques Schnee sounded out from the telephone's receiver. Jacques. I suspect this is about Kuo Kuana, the man asked, leaning back in his swivel chair and smirking as he heard his longtime allies snarl in discontent. Yes, partly. It's also about the troublesome White Fang. Adam Taurus just led a group of his people to free the miners at the foot of Mount Regis, 50 kilometers from Mantle. I have a job I want to hire the Krallo mercenaries for. Jacques stated, his voice dripped with cold fury. I figured as much. You're not hiring my men to go after him. So, a loved one, is it? Going to send him a message or take someone hostage? And since this does partly involve Kuo Kuana's new technological boom. Hume, the target is in Menagerie? How'd I do? Lucius asked playfully. Got it in one. Blake Belladonna. Adam Taurus has a soft spot for the Belladonna princess, it seems. We've intercepted messages from him to her using the CCT.
Jacques explained.
Lucius twirled his finger around the phone's cord, smirking in understanding. Oh, Jacques, you didn't. Hacking the CCT like that. Why, that's illegal.
Please.
We both know what kind of skeletons are in each other's closets. Let's cut to the chase. I want a team to kidnap the Belladonna girl and the girl who's been introducing this dustless technology to Menagerie. I'll pay you 60,000 lien for the contract. Jacques' offer made Lucius smile greedily. Well, getting to Menagerie's not hard, Peresi. Land's uninhabited, for the most part, but the seas are dangerous. The team will need to be huntsman level, with a fast, armed boat, plus the danger of being in enemy territory. We're looking at 80,000. Lucius counteroffered.
Deal.
Just get this done. Jacques replied gruffly before hanging up.
Deal.
He's desperate. Could have squeezed more out of him. Lucius chuckled wryly before beginning to make a few more calls. Though the job sounded easy, he had a gut feeling kidnapping these two girls wouldn't be very easy. That and said trip there had to be below the radar. It would take a while to get there discreetly, but his men were the cream of the crop. They'd never failed him before, and they wouldn't start now. 2 months later, Kuo Kuana Belladonna estate. I think we're finally ready, Miss Xiaolong. Gyra, clearly tired and overworked, stated, placing down a large stack of papers on the table in front of him. He had dark eye bags under his eyes, clearly having powered through hundreds, if not 1,000 forms in a few days. Though it was for a good cause, given how explosive Kuo Kuana's growth had been in the months since Ian had brought forward advanced, otherworldly technology. Their previously humble town had brought a lot of attention due to the increase in living quality, first attracting faunists from the 2 other towns of Quaquania and Buria, then from the nearest coastal towns. If this kept up, they'd be overrun with people. Gyra lamented over the fact that Menagerie was fractured. This whole process of running a city and helping set up a company for Kuo Kuana's biggest contributor was taking its toll. And while his dear wife and Sienna were a huge help in managing the day-to-day and their White Fang forces, he was overwhelmed with work. Something which Ian felt slightly guilty for too, seeing as he basically set up the company she was going to use. Thank you, Chief Gyra. I think you earned a Rio. He's already asleep. Ian gawked as Gyra immediately head out in his chair, prompting 2 White Fang attendants to lay him down so he didn't abruptly drop to the floor. Ian gathered the stack of papers and subtly placed them in her inventory, while the attendants fussed over the now snoring Gyra. After quietly leaving his office, she spotted Sienna and Callie taking a small break in the living quarters and approached them. How long do you think it'll take for the tech to be ready? Some of my men have aura, but adding cybernetics. We could. Sienna saw the sharp look in Callie's eyes, pressing her not to continue with her sentence. I know how you feel about the SDC and Krallo. I do, but the decision on who gets the cybernetics isn't ours to make. Callie replied, spotting Ian walking up behind Sienna. I know. It's just frustrating. I know testing for faunists is still going on, and it'll first be used to help the faunists who are missing limbs. But have you seen the combat implants reverse-engineered from the Dione tech? We could rival no. Crush those Krallo bastards. Sienna spat venomously, noticing the wry smile on Callie's face. So, you're interested in arming up your men with cybernetics, huh? Sienna heard a mature, velvety voice behind her that could only have been Ian. Sienna furrowed her brows and looked at Ian, who was dressed in black boots, brown cargo pants, a tight black leotard that showed off her hips, a small red half-coat that stopped in the middle of her back that possessed a hood that was neatly tucked in. Sienna's eyes briefly wandered to her toned abs that she could see through the skin-tight leotard before focusing on her face.
Yes.
I want to arm my men with the weapons and technology you've been developing. If it's money, I have it. Sienna stated earnestly, much to Yin's amusement. I plan to, Sienna. The cybernetics need to be tested, though. They have no issue with faunus integration, but there's something called cyberpsychosis I'm worried about. Let's say there's a promising soldier with a lot of cybernetics in him. He's efficient, deadly, and loyal. Then one day he snaps, kills 50 of your soldiers, perhaps even some civilians. I'm lowballing the death toll here, but this can happen. Until I'm sure the risks are minimized, I'm not going to allow people to install cyberware willy-nilly. But weapons? I'd be happy to sell you a few for cheap. I'll call it an investment. Yin's words calmed Sienna down, as when she thought of the ramifications of cyberpsychosis, she paled. That kind of meltdown had to be avoided at all costs. Sienna nodded gratefully at Yin, who nodded back and began to walk outside once more. After receiving an official invitation, it was time to go see the Fox King. And released an idea I had of Astolfo as a Sparta in Young Justice on my Patreon. Also, once I get to the 5th Lukoa chap, I'll start posting the first chap on here. Thank you very much those who joined even the free tier of my Patreon. Doubly so for those who did the $5 tier. Here's a Hecate commission for you. Not a chap, but a vote over on Patreon. I put up a poll for FIC ideas after releasing 4 chapters. Here's the lineup. 1. Lukoa in the Multiverse 2. Astolfo as a son of Dante in Young Justice 3. Bell in Zenless Zone 0 combined with solo leveling with a system. First templates Maharaga. Faunus unification. I huff the sun bearing down on the desert. The sound of her heart in her ears. The noradrenaline coursing through her. There was nothing quite like this feeling. In battle against humans, it's often a quick, precision-based fight, even for those with aura. Most don't have the aura capacity to tank big moves. But then, there's the Grimm. Most were easily dispatched fodder that only proved a challenge in hive numbers. But there were a scant few that could be called the apex of their species. The Mythic-class Grimm. But Ian had taken to calling them by another name. One of acknowledgement. Grimm Sovereigns. Ian crawled out of a head crater, the extreme heat burning some of her clothes away. Despite using her partial dragon form, the heat wasn't exactly comfortable. Her aura in the red, which meant some attacks would slip through. The situation looked dire. The hive Grimm stood firmly a few dozen meters away, teeth bared. And it looked in far better condition than her. This was bad. So why was she laughing? 24 hours prior. Ghislaine? What is this? Blake called out somewhat nervously to the Tiger King, who, at the very moment, was rubbing her face into Yin's while holding her from behind. They had just left Kuo Kuana to go see Tamamo, a normally arduous journey through desert. So Blake was a little weirded out by the usually aloof Ghislaine's behavior. Not that Ian seemed to mind it anyway. The same couldn't be said for Shia, who wanted to do the same thing to Yin's exposed navel. I'm putting my scent on her. The fox might try something lewd before she's ready. Ghislaine replied, satisfied with herself. Blake balked at the idea of the usually stoic Tiger King being so affectionate and staking her claim on someone just 1 year older than her. She admitted Ian was strong and capable, but was that all it took to be so popular? Wait. There's 2 other things. Blake narrowed her eyes at the size of Yin's chest, looking intently as a bead of sweat made its way down her cleavage. I feel like you're thinking something rude right now. Ian shot Blake a small glare and kept walking. Oh, sorry. I also have good legs, hips, and rear. Refine your tastes a little, Blake. Yin's voice dripped with disappointment, though Blake's expression froze. I take back my apology. Ian rolled her eyes. Blake was still too young to actually appreciate that sort of thing. But Shia, who had been looking at all the areas she listed, sure wasn't. She wasn't sure what would be an issue when she turned 16, Shia's libido or hers. 2 hours later, it was a long walk, and the heat of the desert bore heavily on Shia and Blake, even though they wore shorts and loose-fitting shirts. Ghislaine, who barely wore anything aside from her pants, was fine. But so too was Ian, who wore a white tank top, blue jean short shorts and sandals, with Murasima around her hips, along with a straw hat. Of course, it'd take a lot to make a dragon overheat too, so that played a significant part in it. Of course, they encountered a few howlers and bearing elves, but they were easily dispatched. They had just arrived at the oasis that was close to Kuo Kuana, where Shia jumped into the clear blue water. Now the water's going to taste like sweat, Blake grumbled, truthfully a little jealous Shia jumped in first. Not a big deal. Ghislaine shrugged, taking a gulp of the water using her hand. Rest your legs here for a few minutes. Map says we'll be there in a half hour. Just can't see it over these god-damned sand dunes. This sand is annoying as H*LL. Ian clicked her tongue in annoyance as she sat down and wiped the sand stuck to her feet. Hey, you never told me. What's your plan to convince the Wolf King? Getting Tamamo with us is a good start, but if we don't get him on too, it'll be a civil war. Blake asked, filling up her water flask. The same way with Tamamo. I've looked into the two. You all love your people and have a responsibility to them. Ghislaine believes in my ability to do as I claim. Tamamo is interested in the potential, but hasn't joined us yet. Mazaka is torn between the love of his people and his hatred for humans. But in the end, I believe he loves his people more than he hates humans. Ian replied, accepting the drink offered by Ghislaine. And
How do you know that?
well, why would he still be here if he hated humans more? Shia commented, pulling herself out of the oasis.
Yup.
He has the power to do some serious damage to the kingdoms. All of the kings do. But doing so will implicate his people. A king is responsible for more than just himself, after all. He's not afraid to go to war with the kingdoms, but menagerie is split. He's still a rational man. He knows one town won't stand a chance against even one kingdom. He's biding his time, making connections. Ian clarified. Seeing as Blake understood, she continued. But it's proving hard for him. He's too well known, and not even criminals want to establish connections with him.
But me?
I have plans and enough anonymity for my next goal. You'll hear when I explain it to Tamamo. Ian then stood up and gestured her head to the side. Now come on. Final stretch. Let's go see the fox girl. Just as Ian said, it wasn't long before they reached the town. Kuo Kuana was built inland into the base of a mountain range. The ice melt from the mountains created beautiful waterfalls and rivers that flowed through the Australian-themed town. There was a clear Japanese theme here, as there were even a few sakura trees mixed in with the natural jungle flora.
Oh.
I read that Kuo Kuana originated from Old Mistral. The Faunas who were oppressed in Mistral moved here at the end of the Great War. They brought these pink-petaled trees over with them. Their architecture, too. Blake explained while snapping pictures on her scroll. A few of the older villagers even wore old Japanese clothing. They looked over at their group, but upon seeing them all as fellow Faunas, their wariness lowered. Ian looked up at the large building that looked like a temple. Want to guess where Tamamo is? At least it's not up a mountain. Ian snickered at Ghislaine's nearly imperceptible pout. It's good exercise. Also, I didn't put it up there. Ghislaine grumbled. I'm just joking, Tiger Mommy. Ian pat her lower back and continued on toward the temple. Mommy.
I kind of like that.
Ghislaine followed after her, not noticing the predatory, sultry smile growing on her face, much to the alarm of Shia and Blake. Her charm is growing out of control. Shia gasped, pulling Blake along with her. The town was very friendly, despite their stance against Krallo and the SDC. Ian knew they were ready and willing to follow Tamamo if, and when she gave the order to war against the two companies. She could appreciate that kind of steadfastness. Their journey had been smooth and full of welcoming smiles until they stepped up to the temple. Two fox Faunus guards blocked the entrance with spears, looking at Ian suspiciously. She recognized the two, though younger-looking now. Fennec and Corsac. One brother possessed fox ears, while the other possessed a fox tail, both adorned in white and black hooded monk clothing. This is the Fox King's domain, outsiders. State your purpose. Fennec, the fox-eared brother, demanded. I was invited. Ian pulled out an official letter of invitation from her inventory, though it looked as if she pulled it from her right pocket. The letter possessed a unique nine-tailed fox stamp that they both recognized as their king's official stamp. Brother. I believe she's the representative that Lady Tamamo has her eye on. Corsac whispered to his brother.
Yes.
I suppose that does check out. Corsac, lead them in. I will watch the gate. Fennec urged his brother to go, noticing Ghislaine, Blake, and Shia. But what of them? Corsac asked, motioning to the others. They must remain outside. Even the Tiger King. Fennec sneered, clearly showing his dissatisfaction with Ghislaine.
No.
They come with me. Whether you allow that willingly or after I plant your heads through the floor depends on you. Ian said, looking at the two, now offended brothers. What did you just say? Fennec's grip on his spear tightened. He had never been blatantly threatened like this ever since he became an official honor guard of the Fox King. Before he could make a move or utter a word, though, a clear, feminine voice cut in, coming from deeper within the temple. You're being rather rude to my invited guests, Fennec. And my friend, Ghislaine, is here. Are you trying to abuse your power? Wait outside, the both of you. I will have a nice talk with you later. Please, my esteemed guests, come right in. I was expecting you. Her voice was playful, a bit seductive and somewhat excited, from what Ian could tell. Ghislaine nodded and removed her sandals at the front door, silently urging them to do the same. She's gotten stronger. Her aura is sharper. She was always a great dust mage, though. Ghislaine spoke with a reminiscent tone, walking in while ignoring the two despondent guards forced to wait outside. 2 hours to go, and looks like ZZZ1. Lukoa was a close second, though. Not abandoning them, but they'll be fixed. I occasionally update if I ever feel unmotivated to write this. Faunus unification. The group walked further into the temple, stopping at a room dedicated specifically to the Fox King. Though it was obvious, due to how much fox iconography there was everywhere within the room. The room was split, with tatami mats covering the floor, up to what seemed to be a large shrine devoted to the Fox King, who would sit within, usually covered by a thin veil that would obscure their appearance. Ian could both see and smell her, sitting carefree inside the shrine half of the room. Low there. Sorry about those two. The people here get defensive about. Ian ignored her voice and turned to the side, glancing at a sliding door. She had also noticed Ghislaine seemed mildly amused once they stepped inside, though Shia and Blake were none the wiser still. Heavens me, you found out so fast. The voice they'd heard from within the shrine section changed, having come from behind the sliding door to their left. Slee-eyed, a beautiful woman walked in, her pink hair, tied up in 2 ponytails, immediately drawing their attention. Her striking yellow eyes focused on Yin's own serpentine red eyes. Her orange fox ears and tail twitched, showing her amusement at having been exposed so quickly. You're still a trickster. Ghislaine mused, taking a seat in front of the kotatsu table set up in front of the shrine. She was just in that other room. Shia stated, confused. That was an illusion, Miss Bunny. Pleased to officially meet you all. Come, make yourself at home, like Ghislaine has. Tamamo greeted, taking a seat across from Ghislaine. Ian acquiesced, sitting beside Ghislaine while Blake and Shia both sat on opposite sides. Looking around, the room was strangely cozy, for being a room where the Fox King had a shrine. Now where was I?
Yes.
Those two are rather protective of me, though a lot of my people are. Tamamo offered. Ian shrugged, though Shia rapidly nodded.
Please.
The desert was so hot. Tamamo covered her mouth and giggled at Shia's honesty and flicked her wrist, a kettle floating over to the table from another room, along with teacups, tea bags, cream, and sugar, all neatly set up on the table. Please go right ahead. I suspect our talk may be lengthy. Tamamo smiled, gesturing them to help themselves. Thanks, Ian said, subtly glancing at the sliding door Tamamo came from. Tamamo noticed this and smiled once more, her eyes gaining an intrigued gleam in them as she watched Ian pour herself a tea. A sort of secret conversation began between the two of them, just using their eyes and micro-expressions. You're a scary kid, you know that? Tamamo said, after a minute of silence. The corners of Yin's lips curve up slightly as she takes a sip of her tea. It's not the first time I've dealt with crafty people. I came to Menagerie prepared, but you should already know that much. Let's get straight into business now. Tamamo tapped her fingers rhythmically on the kotatsu tabletop and hummed in agreement. Sounds good to me. I'd like to procure your technology.
To use in my town.
I've seen how Kuo Kuana flourishes, and I'm interested. I also saw that display. Months back at the Tiger Temple. That old ancestor isn't easy to talk to. I'm curious. Who are you, really? Tamamo asked, leaning forward, her sizable breasts pressing against the kotatsu, either to tease her or to lower her guard. Either way, Een had no issue looking at the fox lady's impressive
bust.
As a fox lady yourself, I thought you'd know of me. Does the name Hecate mean anything to you? Een shot a question back, immediately seeing Tamamo stiffen.
Oh.
Well then. Tamamo lost her composure completely, sitting up straight, with an awkward look on her face. I should have paid more attention to that hag's lessons. Yes, she is familiar. Did she? Tamamo paused. Send me here? In a way, yes. But let's put that behind us now. I was only curious if you knew her, since you're Kitsune. Een replied, confusing both Blake and Shia, while Ghislaine had a general idea what she was referring to. Oh, okay, good. That kind of talk makes me nervous. Now that your identity is solidified, how about giving that life-improving tech out, Tamamo smiled, putting on a cute face and posing her hands out. The sudden shift from serious to this kind of mood was jarring for them, to say the least. Though Ghislaine didn't seem to mind it, likely due to knowing Tamamo the longest. I don't mind, as long as you guys agree to unite under one banner. Een casually replied, making Tamamo's smile stiffen in response. Well, I'd love to, but we all have differing opinions on what we should do about the other kingdoms. Our current status is what's keeping us from officially becoming a kingdom, but it's complicated. Tamamo sighed, glancing at Ghislaine, who seemed content with taking small sips of her tea. You mean about how all three of you can't agree on a course of action to take against the humans? The real issue you face is with the SDC and Crawlo groups. Some small groups of people may hate the Faunus, but those two are behind a lot of the anti-Faunus campaigns in Atlas, Vale, and Mistral. Een replied, setting her cup down. Ghislaine wanted to remain on the defensive, uniting the island and becoming an official kingdom to put pressure on the SDC, Crawlo, and Atlas High Council. You want to take the fight to the SDC and Crawlo, along with freeing the Faunus workers contracted to work in the mines. Mizaka wants to take Atlas down alongside the SDC, Crawlo, and anyone else who discriminates against the Faunus. One wants to pursue peace and freedom through diplomacy, one wants to fight for freedom and destroy corruption, and one wants total war. I get that right? Een asked, seeing Blake squirm uncomfortably to herself. Pretty much, Ghislaine's idea won't work while we're fractured and in a disagreement. Mizaka's is too extreme. But he lost the love of his life to humans. A lot of bad things that happen to him and his people are due to humans. So, he has extremists and sympathizers. Tamamo nodded. And your idea will get your people killed, get Menagerie labeled as a rogue state full of terrorists, and eventually get Atlas involved. It'll only take one bad mistake for the SDC and Crawlo PMC to use their connections and solidify you as a threat to the other kingdoms. Yin's words made Tamamo's brows crease, though she had to admit, she wasn't wrong. But what could they do? Things were getting worse every day for them. I have a plan, Een said, cutting her thoughts short. Blake leaned in, having been waiting to hear this for a while. Tell me. Tamamo folded her hands and listened intently. First, we need to get Mizaka and you to agree to unite the Faunus here on Menagerie. Second, all White Fang operations must come to a complete halt. At least, for 3 years. With you all coming together, with my growing company and the economy of a united Menagerie, we can have you negotiate to free the people in the mines. Een started to explain. Tamamo frowned. That just sounds like Ghislaine's plan. It'd certainly help to have your company set up here. But the SDC would never agree. Yes, not while public sentiment was on their side. Not while Atlas backed them. I'm aiming to become a public figure in Atlas. One who can sway the people. Een replied, watching the gears in the Fox girl's head turn. You mean a politician? That'd take. Een held up her hand to stop her.
No.
There's a different route. Media. Een stated. Tamamo furrowed her brows in thought. That was certainly a quicker route. Though becoming a celebrity in Atlas wasn't easy. You needed to be vetted by quite a few people with connections. Atlas and Mantle had their media controlled by the kingdom, as with any other kingdom. Though, Atlas had a tighter grip on what could be shown on TV or the internet. You need connections. And being a faunus. It'll be hard. How do you intend to get famous in Atlas? Tamamo asked, inching forward in interest. By making connections in Vale. More specifically, Vale's underworld. I'm going to take over after I leave Menagerie. Ian smiled, though the implications of that smile made Tamamo shiver. There was a hint of darkness in her tone and face that made her hairs stand on end. But looking at her, she had to admit, it looked incredibly **XY on her. Coughed Tamamo cleared her throat and thoughts and took a deep breath, thinking of the plan Ian just pitched. This could work. Tamamo muttered to herself, though Blake raised her hand. We're not in school, Blake. Ghislaine smirked. Sorry. How does taking over the criminal side of Vale help make the kind of connections you need for Atlas? Blake asked, idly taking glances at Shia, who almost seemed to understand. Vale counselors, Atlas counselors, big names in the entertainment business. They all have a finger in Vale's underworld. I wouldn't be surprised if Oshpin himself had one or two. It's big, Blake. Bunch of groups involved too. Ian answered, seeing Shia snap her fingers. I got it now. Shia proudly nodded to herself, having finally understood everything. Well, that's a marvelous plan. The issue is... Tamamo trailed off, giving Ian a wry smirk. Mazaka. But he loves his people more. Tam. He hates humans. All he needs to do is hold off on attacking anyone for 3 years. Ian said, once more glancing at the sliding door wall. Can you do that, Mazaka? Hearing Ian ask that to the wall, Tamamo snickered into her sleeve, while Ghislaine slightly smiled in pride. Ha. Figured you'd sniff me out as well. Luckily for you. You're right about me. A gruff, masculine voice replied from behind the sliding door, which soon opened. A silver-haired man came into the room, wearing a fur coat with black pants and boots. His chest was exposed, with 3 deep scars evident in the center of his chest. He sat down, much to the surprise of Blake, who hadn't expected to sit in a room with all 3 Beast Kings. So, will you agree? Ian asked. Mazaka softly snorted in amusement, leaning his arm down on the table, and looked into Yin's calm crimson eyes. I don't follow just anyone. To ask me to set aside my hatred and follow your plan. I'll accept it if you prove yourself strong enough to lead us. Luckily for you, I know just how you can prove your strength. Mazaka finished with a toothy grin. Do you mean? Tamamo and Ghislaine were immediately on guard. It takes all 3 of us to take on one, Mazaka. You expect her to? Tamamo cut herself off as she saw Ghislaine shake her head. She looked over to Ian, who had an interested, dark smile on her face, like she was waiting for something. Mazaka continued, sharing the same smile as Ian. It's not only this decision that's preventing a united menagerie. We have 2 more things preventing us from uniting. Leviathan of the Deep Sea, who is taken to wandering our coast. And the King of Flames, Ifrit the Destroyer. He's taken a piece of our land for himself, limiting the routes available to us. Every time we make some progress in trying to kill one of them, the other shows up and we have to retreat. Mazaka finished, looking at the growing excitement evident in Yin's eyes. So, I have to kill a Mythic-class Grimm then? So be it. Ian agreed. It was time to put her skills to the ultimate test. Next chapter, Mythic-class, and got a p.atreon. Go there if you want to read my zzz/slfic. I'll upload here after the 6th chap of it gets released. www.patreon.com/Siko. Another public announcement, once more, a story you might be familiar with was copy/pasted. IMG this sh*t is gross. Don't give them any views or interactivity. Mechanics Scrapyard was awesome. This mouth breather didn't even come up with an original name for this plagiarized horse sh*t. Mythic-class, and because yesterday was an announcement, here you go. I think I cooked, guys. Enjoy and play the appropriate battle songs. It was finally time. Ever since she heard of the existence of Mythic-class Grimm, Ian had a growing itch to fight one. To show her dominance? For the thrill of fighting a monster? For the sake of saving others? She couldn't quite pinpoint the feelings she had. Misaka, Tamamo, Ghislaine, and Shia stood behind her as they approached the territory of Ifrit. It lived in the desert close to Kuo Kuana, where it was the hottest. The Grimm's territory cut into the heart of Menagerie, stopping most trade routes going to the other towns by just existing.
Ian.
Shia called out as Ian walked past the tree line and into the desert. Help them, Shia. No one can interfere in my fight, not even if it looks bad for me. And keep an eye out for Blake. Knowing her, she might try to sneak over here to see if there was something she could do. Ian huffed in false annoyance.
She didn't hate that about Blake.
She was a kid, after all. Naive, determined. Maybe if she improved, she could be a good partner for Yang.
Nah.
Still not worthy of my sister. Ian snorted derisively. Unknowingly, she was becoming a Sisgon. Ian walked forward, seeing a distortion in the air ahead, the extreme heat making it easy to tell where Ifrit was. She looked back at them. Take care of Leviathan. I'll be back. Ian stated before carrying on. Ghislaine sighed silently before nodding at the two other kings. Let's go near the coast. It'll come around when the fight starts. Ghislaine stated, taking the lead. Shia gripped the handle of her Gretimer and followed after them. They were going to fell 2 Mythic-class Grimm today. A feat not seen since the Great War. A powerful duo who had killed the Mythic-class Grimm of the Storm, Amatsu, Mugetsu, and Hiromi. More names would added to the title of Kingslayer. Ifrit, the Inferno King. Ian walked into the desert, but she hadn't needed to walk far. The heat distortion moved towards her as soon as she came close to the first dune. The tree line was still in sight, but it didn't matter. This was still his territory. Thud, thud, 2 loud footsteps crashed into the sands. Ian saw the curved horns of Ifrit overcome the large dune. It was in no hurry. It knew who was challenge it. As Ifrit crossed the dune, its molten yellow eyes stared into the serpentine crimson eyes of its challenger. Ian suppressed her shaking, taking a deep breath. Her excitement nearly getting the better of her as she stared Ifrit down. She slowly pulled the high-frequency blade out of her inventory and held WIRM in her left hand. KRRR. Ifrit snorted, the already blistering heat ramping up even more as flames emerged from its body. Its legs spread, getting into its battle-ready form. Don't disappoint me now, Ian stated, immediately breaking into a sprint and shooting at the Inferno King. Ifrit stomped its foot and roared, the sound wave tearing through its throat, reminiscent of a tiger, altering the trajectory of the Gauss shot. Ifrit ran, faster than its size would imply, and threw a haymaker straight down at Ian, who had no choice but to block it. Boom! Ian held the high-frequency blade up with both hands, preventing the full hit from going through, though it still sent a shockwave through her body and pulverized the area around her. Her arms felt numb instantly, and her aura shimmered. She smiled. Good. Good. Ian turned the HF blade and cut along the knuckles of Ifrit's hand as she moved away from under its heavy fist. Ifrit growled and stomped at her. Ian twisted her body away and slashed along its ankle. Then, using Mana Hike, she leapt up to its face level and shot it in the face close-up before spinning for momentum and slashing it across the right eye. Ian smirked as she landed, aiming for her next shot when she saw Ifrit snarl in what seemed like contempt. The cuts on its knuckles, and eye closing at a visible rate. It stared hatefully down at Ian, as if insulted. Then, it planted its right foot down and unleashed a hive wave of fire that swept across the nearby dunes. Despite her resistance to flames, even Ian felt this. Through the bright yellow flames, she saw Ifrit slowly raise its hand, like an emperor judging her performance. Then, Ifrit lowered its hand, and a hive flaming explosion burned the section of the desert and lit quite a few of the trees at the edge on fire. Boom. Ian's body shot across the head dunes, smashing through the sharp yet fragile black GLA*H. Her feet slammed into the sand, stopping her from going much further. But this was a clear message to her. HAAA. Een exhaled, seeing her aura flicker in response to the explosion more than the heat. She stared at the towering monster king as she stood up, a tinge of respect in her eyes. There was no helping it. Een dismissed both of her weapons back to the inventory. Continuing to use them would be insulting to them both. The blade was useful, but that wasn't the skill she was the strongest in. No, she needed to kill it with her bare hands. Accelerate active, ignition active, ruin Dragon's Wrath. Her more draconic features emerged, covering parts of her body in tough black scales. Red eyes turned violet, and flickering blue flames ignited across her body. Yin's body briefly blurred before a loud crack resounded, her fist smashing into the chest of Ifrit. Nothing held back. Ifrit slid back 10 feet, though remained standing. Its molten yellow eyes widened as another hit came through, Yin's fist impacting against its face and making it actually stumble back to steps. The blue blur that was Een bounced off the GLA*head sand, once more going for a hit, only to go fist-to-fist with Ifrit. CRA crack. The GLA*H dunes exploded from the force of the two hits. Ifrit stumbled back 3 feet, while Yin's body smashed into the sand, kicking up razor-sharp GLA*H and sand. The two recovered almost immediately, attacking once more. Grah. Ifrit spun on its heel and drove its knee into Yin's body, sending her flying straight up. Ifrit held out its hands and shot out 3 truck-sized fireballs at Een, who had just managed to recover in the air. Een internally cursed and held her hand out, sending out her own blue fireballs before using Mana Hike to regain her footing. *Boom. BOM. The resulting explosions shook the desert. Though Ifrit wasn't satisfied letting her recover, crouching down and shooting up at Een like a shooting star. *T. Een dodged the deceptively fast kick that might have sent her into the troposphere, bouncing between mana platforms and delivering an ignition-fueled crescent kick into Ifrit's face. *Crackbone. Parts of the hardened white mask around Ifrit's face exploded from the resulting force and explosion. The flames coming from within exploded forth, even more intensely. Ifrit used one of Yin's previous mana platforms and managed to grab Een out of the air with its huge hand. Shooting off into the ground, Een deeply inhaled and unleashed a dragon's breath of condensed darkness. Ifrit's hide cracked, but being a Grimm, it could resist long enough to smash Een into the ground. The devastating explosion forming a mini mushroom cloud that could be seen from Kuo Kuana. Kuo Kuana, the town, had been in chaos since the battle began. The colossal hits and explosions were close enough to the town where you'd need to be blind to miss the commotion. Blake ran through the panicking crowd, helping the firefighters. She knew participating in the battle was out of the question, but it still frustrated her to no end. Bring more hoses. The fire's spreading, Blake yelled out to the White Fang and volunteers putting out the flames. Then, an overwhelming heat washed over them. A shockwave knocked everyone close to the forest down. Some of the unlucky faunus in the front keeled over, clutching their ears. Thankfully, Blake had both sets of ears covered in time by Gyra, to avoid going deaf. Crack-a-boom. It was evident a catastrophic explosion took place in the desert. Blake felt her breath hitch as she looked up at her father. Gyra's ears were bleeding, but his aura prevented him from going deaf. Thankfully. Dad. Blake sighed thankfully as Gyra pulled her into his arms. Everyone, come back here. Only the ones with unbroken aura can carry on with the firefighting. Gyra nodded at Blake before addressing the crowd. Blake nodded, intent on grabbing a hose nearby, when she saw one of the newcomer White Fang at the edge of the forest, holding his scroll out, like he was recording something. Oh, you idiot. Blake ran over, gritting her teeth and keeping her head low to avoid the smoke. As soon as she caught up, she tried to grab him by the shoulder and spin him around. Though when she saw what he was streaming, she froze in shock. Out there, in the desert, was a colorful clash of bright yellow and azure blue. But more eye-catching than that was the sight of a dragon, holding back two of the Inferno King's arms with its wings. The sight was enough to leave anyone breathless. But it soon vanished in an ultra-bright flash of yellow and blue. Blake snapped out of her awe and shook the boy. "You idiot! You could get killed out here," Blake screamed. No. I have to keep this up." He shook his head, and Blake knew why he insisted when she saw his screen. 5 million people were watching. Yin Xiaolong huffed the sun bearing down on the desert, the sound of her heart in her ears, the noradrenaline coursing through her. There was nothing quite like this feeling. In battle against humans, it's often a quick, precision-based fight, even for those with aura. Most don't have the aura capacity to tank big moves. But then, there's the Grimm. Most were easily dispatched fodder that only proved a challenge in hive numbers. But there were scant few that could be called the apex of their species. The Mythic-class Grimm. But Yin had taken to calling them by another name. One of acknowledgement. Grimm Sovereigns. Yin crawled out of a head crater, the extreme heat burning some of her clothes away. Despite using her partial dragon form, the heat wasn't exactly comfortable. Her aura in the red, which meant some attacks would slip through. And some certainly had. The situation looked dire. The hive Grimm stood firmly a few dozen meters away, teeth bared. And it looked in far better condition than her. This was bad. So, why was she laughing? Easy. She knew why now. What exactly her feelings of excitement stemmed from. Was she a battle freak? Most certainly. To show her dominance? Yes, this too was correct. To save others? Of course. They grew on her, plus they'd be useful. But the real reason deep down was a simple one. Most would call it twisted. But dragons do not lie to themselves. Yin stopped laughing and stared down the fellow monster. Ignition kicked into overdrive, coating her and 10 meters around her in a darkening blue flame. Then, she declared her true reason. Her epiphany. "It's going to be so much fun destroying you." Yin screamed with a wide, monstrous smile. Ifrit growled and took a runner's position. Crack. The dunes around them exploded from the launch of both of them. Ifrit's hands slammed down at her. Yin cackled and reached her hands up, while activating, dragon trigger activated. Her true form catching its hive fists. Ifrit's eyes widened, and it felt some of the darkness that made its form drain into the dragon before it. Face to face, both monsters drew in a deep breath and unleashed their strongest attacks. Kaiju battle. As Yin fought the flaming Grimm, Shia and the Beast Kings had engaged Leviathan at the shore. Given it was on land, the fight was difficult for the Grimm. High-pressure water jets shot out of its tentacles, trying to cut the group to ribbons. Though they were too fast, too coordinated to be hit by them. Slam. Shia slammed her hammer into Leviathan's underbelly, blasting rocks and sand away from the incredible force. Leviathan squirmed in pain as its aquatic body slithered over the sand. Its mouth opened, body glowing a light blue as it prepared to spew more high-pressure water at Shia. Only, its mouth clamped shut, thanks to Mizaka, who used his aura to create a giant claw and forcefully shut its mouth. Leviathan immediately began to thrash around violently until a rather large bolt of lightning smashed into its face, which was then followed by Ghislaine leaping up its back and slashing along its serpentine body with her aura-infused blade. Large splashes of black liquid flowed from Leviathan's wounds, but it was recovering at a visible rate. The Grim King of the Sea hissed in outrage, shaking its head violently to break free of Mizaka's hold. This bastard. So this is the Grimm that's killed some of our ancestors. Mizaka grunted, releasing his hold on the aquatic beast and preparing for another strike. Yes. I won't be satisfied until we've flayed this pointlessly huge fish, Tamamo added, loading more high-grade lightning dust into her war fan. And then important to remember though, do not let it get to Ifrit. Ghislaine stated, glancing over at Shia. Yin will be okay. Boom. The distant cataclysmic explosion didn't deter the rabbit girl. Shia activated the special function of her hammer, turning it into a cannon. her eyes hardened by determination. "I'm not gonna disappoint her," Shia yelled, leaping over Leviathan's head as it moved to devour Shia whole. Shia spun the hammer high above, before aiming the barrel right at its face. Leviathan tried to smack her away with a few of its numerous bladed tentacles. Ghislaine was quick though, having leapt in after her, jumping up its hive body and severing 7 tentacles in one swift move, using her aura arts to create a large cutting wave of aura that injured the Grimm further. Tamamo and Mizaka weren't far behind, Mizaka slamming its head down and pinning it to the ground with 2 aura claw constructs, while Tamamo utilized the element it was weak to and stunned it with several painful strikes of lightning. Shia took the opportunity created for her and brought the barrel of the hammer down on its head with all of her strength, before pulling the trigger and unleashing the gathered mana within the draconic weapon. Crack'em! Leviathan raged as it sustained grievous injury. Staring hatefully at the 4 who injured it it began to draw on more mana, until the cataclysmic clash of 2 powerful kings shook the island. The Grimm knew it wouldn't get there in time,
so it moved to retreat.
"Where do you think you're going?" Though by the looks of it, Shia and the Beast Kings had other plans. Blake Belladonna didn't know what to think. Seeing the state of the fight now, was it really a fight between a huntress and a powerful Grimm? No, this was something not even a human could do. But she understood why Shia was so confident. Een was, or could turn into, a dragon. As a dragon, she was as large as Ifrit, even on all 4s. Its wings were attached to 2 powerful arms that ended in claws, giving it a distinct advantage when it came to outmaneuvering and restraining Ifrit's physical attacks. But what Blake couldn't overcome was the primal fear she felt when looking at it. Someone she considered a friend was going toe-to-toe with a monster like Ifrit.
Dubbed.
"What's been going on? What did you see?" Blake asked, trying to stop herself from running. "I dunno. I started streaming a few minutes ago. Looked like some girl was fighting Ifrit. Then." He was calm, but his voice too betrayed how he was feeling at the moment. "Okay.
Good."
Blake felt some relief. If Ian's transformation had been recorded on stream, it would likely be very bad. But from the flames and the sheer distance, it was hard to tell what was happening, aside from now seeing the fight between 2 monsters. Blake hadn't realized yet, but the position of Ian shifted in her mind. Managerian desert crack. Ifrit stumbled back, taking a punch to the face from the beast that appeared before it. The 2 had a few injuries marring their bodies, and despite its regeneration, Ifrit had taken more damage in their exchange. The black dragon before it reminded Ifrit of one of the creators. Not like that mattered to it. Ifrit bared its teeth and charged the dragon. Flap the black dragon pushed off the ground with its 6 limbs, flapping its wings for a boost in height and speed, before smashing its tail into Ifrit's jaw and flying above it. Recoiling from the force, Ifrit snarled and gathered flames into its palms, launching car-sized fireballs at the dragon. Een coiled her body inwards before flapping her powerful wings once more and spinning her body, avoiding the concussive force of the flames before spreading her wings and halting her movement. Ifrit paused as it saw blue flames gather in the palms of her claws. Yin's arm stretching out and creating what seemed to be a hive arrow of blue flames, her other arm pulling back, as if pulling it taut. The deadly arrow could be seen from Kuo Kuana, lighting the area up as it was fired straight at Ifrit. Ifrit stomped its foot and summoned its magic to create a barrier of its flames around it. The train-sized arrow of fire didn't hit it directly, but the concussive blast and heat transformed the desert into a field of molten GLA*H. RAAGGHH. Ifrit roared out defiantly, covering its eyes from the bright explosion before hearing an odd whistling noise. Ifrit squinted its eyes, seeing the cause, but by then, it was a second too late to dodge. Een had dove down, after the Fuga imitation and drop-kicked Ifrit in the face after tucking her wings in and hitting terminal velocity. The violent kick throwing up GLA*H, sand and rock as both monsters carved a hive molten trench along the desert. It was only after 10 seconds did Ifrit regain consciousness and grab Een by the tail before throwing her into the mountainside opposite of the Tiger Temple. rumble her scales and spines cracked from the force of the impact, but Een picked herself up and huffed from the exertion. Ifrit was still not done. Half of the white plating on its face was torn away. Its regeneration slowed, but it wasn't stopping. Ifrit got up, standing at the base of the mountain, growling in rage as the flames around its hulking form increased in intensity. It then opened its palms and held them opposed to each other, creating a ball of extremely hot flames that began to expand until it became larger than its body. Een immediately flew up, but Ifrit pounced as soon as she moved. Using flames gathered at its legs, Ifrit soared above the dragon and drop-kicked the hive ball of flames at Een. Een stopped midair, holding out her arms to block the sun-like ball of fire. Though its power and force behind it began to push her toward the ground, despite the powerful flapping of her wings. Ifrit dropped down at her, punching and kicking the hive ball, ensuring both it and Een fell to the earth. Een planted her feet on the ground, struggling to contain the hive ball of fire. Her feet sunk and dragged across the stone and molten GLA*H, struggling to resist the ball of death. Ifrit snarled and clutched its fist in its other claw before hammer swinging its fists into the ball of flames, successfully detonating it. Boom! An even bigger explosion than before shook the island, kicking up tons of sand and rock into the air. Ifrit was knocked back from the explosion, nearly buried in the melting rock and sand as it took a knee and looked at its foe. Hashtag. It was still injured all over its body, but still not dead. In fact, Ifrit heard its heart beating. A powerful one, in fact. Hashtag. Then, the previously clear sunny sky darkened. Ifrit looked up in shock. Dark clouds converged over the island. It never rained on Menagerie, but the blistering heat from their battle had risen up into the atmosphere, creating the perfect conditions for a storm. Ifrit growled as it began to pour, water drenching its body. Hashtag. Een began to move. Inhaling a deep breath, she picked herself up. A violet energy glowing from within her chest quickly spread throughout her body. Her horns, sparking with a deep purple electricity. The black scales carrying an undercurrent of extreme power within them. Ignition. Overdrive activated. Blue flames covered her body entirely. Her wings opened, like a black cape as she began to float above Ifrit. In front of her heart, an umbral light formed, somehow shining brightly, despite how dark a color it was. Ifrit stared at the dragon, which it had thought close to death just now. Its wing arms moving up, while its arms and legs took a position that eerily resembled a star. It was fun. Now, die, she commanded, and Ifrit watched the tiny, yet bright umbral-colored energy begin to gently fall to the ground before it. It was too late to run, not that it would. And it knew there was no avoiding it. It witnessed the attack from the god of darkness that wiped out the ancient humans. This attack resembled the very same. At least it put up a fight to its very end. Hive light pillars shot into the sky, rending the dark clouds in its way. The only thing that could be seen when it was done was a lone woman standing atop the disintegrating body of the Mythic-class Grimm, a pillar of sunlight peeking through, as if drawing a spotlight on her achievement. Level up. The consecutive notifications were the last things she heard before exhaustion caught up with her. The world stilled for a moment, before the stream recording the fight blew up. Across Remnant, many of the top players noticed the earth-shaking battle that took place on the nearly forgotten corner of Remnant, each carrying different reactions. An immortal witch, deeply contemplative. The wizard with many lives, in extreme shock. And deep in the wilderness, across Remnant, the slumbering ancient Grimm stirred. Welcome to Remnant online message boards. You are currently signed in, Sunny Dragon. You are viewing *threads. You have replied to *threads with new replies *private messages original poster topic. General discussion in News Menagerie Mythic-class Fight Shirasik. Original poster, Holy SH *T that stream. Guys. We need to figure out what that was. Grimm? Ancient species? Magic? Atlas experiment? That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And who was the girl? Too far away to see. Do better, cameraman. SH, Jaravaz, not Oshpin. Wasn't there some firework stuff in that area a while ago? Now a real dragon appears. Was that girl the summoner? I saw her fighting it. Sunny Dragon. We just witnessed history today, guys. No huntsman could have defeated a Mythic-class*H by themselves. That girl deserves the recognition. I stay tier-winning, Fox Cult. Fluff incarnate hee. That was entertaining. That big horny guy stood no chance. Like BM and Pow. Wait until I show my sister. Myendual. Internet's confusing. Good *T new girl. We'll have ye punch in galaxies yet.
Yee.
Ray Kale Muscle Mommy Visionary. Yuri is life. I feel some kind of kinship with the last commenter for some reason. P_J Novel aficionado. That kaiju battle is just what I needed. But for real. Absolute cinema. Great to see these things can be killed. Nature. I was there, y'all. My buddy Coral recorded it. The Beast Kings were fighting Leviathan while this went down. Managed to get away, but still. A Mythic-class*H Grimm died. That is huge. I think big changes are coming to Menagerie soon. Maybe, hopefully, some good ones. Underscore 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 underscore. Many were reeling from the spectacle. But back in Patch, Yang kept replaying the end of the stream. When the smoke and lights cleared, there stood her sister, standing on the body of one of the strongest beings on Remnant. Her chest tightened, staring at her goal, and the one she looked up to. So awesome, sis. I promise, I'll get to your level. Yang whispered, clutching her scroll with a still image of her sister, close to her chest. Hashtag, 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 and hope you enjoyed. Still a few things before the end of the arc, but the end is soon. Also check out ZZZ/SL. Apex Predator. Got a few chaps on Pietreon, but we'll be releasing one here every time I release one there. So for my 7th chap there, you'll get the 2nd here. On another level, welcome to Remnant online message boards. You are currently signed in, Sunny Dragon. You are viewing *threads. You have replied to *threads with new replies *private messages *original poster topic. General discussion in News Menagerie Black Dragon Ivory _Rouge. Original poster, so I started this thread to funnel the recent news into this topic. Some others are talking politics, history, and the faunus. But here I want to talk about important things. The most important thing. Dragon. The dragon that appeared at the fight. I want to hear opinions. P_J_Sitchword. Novel aficionado. Well, there's a few theories I've seen online. Is it a Grimm? An ancient animal? Where did it come from? Why show up now in Menagerie? Either way, its breath attacks were cool. Master_Mask. Crazy theory here. Think this has something to do with those crazy, unopenable doors all over Remnant? Replying to Master_Mask, Stinky Fard. Nothing really connects those two though. Remnant has a lot of mysteries, our moon, the Grimlands, the weird temple far north in Mistral, how Atlas has enough gravity, dust to keep a city flying. Lstar_334. Hiya, love. I don't know about all of that ancient animal, Grimm, or where it came from, but did you guys notice how human it acted? In its attacks, it used a fire arrow, a dropkick, and a super flashy finisher. And I think its mouth moved like it talked, right at the end. Sunny Dragon, maybe. It was magic? Underscore 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 underscore. Many around the world were discussing the events caught on stream, as well as reviewing the footage, frame by frame. As of now, Atlas was holding a special meeting, trying to decide if the military should mobilize. while a certain former king was staring at the still image of the woman at the end, her appearance reminding him of his wayward student. Though the newborn celebrity herself was laying in silk sheets on a king-sized bed within the Belladonna estate. You accomplished a legendary feat. Ian opened her eyes, instantly shaking away the sleepy fog one has when waking up. Seeing the notification, she knew it wasn't an ordinary one. It lacked the mechanical feeling she was accustomed to. It is surprising, though. It was not expected you would reach such a level until you were fully matured. Once more, usurpa * head expectations. Ian sat up, uncaring of how the sheets fell, and revealed her N*K*D form. Looking at her hands and arms, she both felt and saw something different. The athletic body she had seemed more defined, though not overly muscular. Her feminine form was still very much apparent. But there was certainly something different, more so than just the minor aesthetic changes to her body. As a reward for the extraordinary feat, you have leveled up to the next tier, and an awakening took place while you were unconscious. All wounds and scars have healed as well. So that's what it was. Ian closed her eyes, yet still saw everything around her until she focused on the darkness of her eyelids. Awakening. Dragon Lord eyes godly. Ian opened her eyes again. It would take a little time to get used to, but it felt right. She compared it to Gojo Satoru's eyes, but there was no strain. She pressed on the notification to get more information. Dragon Lord eyes. You are able to see through most of the cosmos secrets. Secret techniques, energy manipulation, illusions, and even space itself. You see it all. Your glares can affect those with weaker wills than you, even killing them if they are found too weak. That was interesting. If she could see through techniques and energy manipulation, that means she could likely replicate it. Maybe even learning the magic that other Mythic-class Grimm use would be possible? Ian once again looked at herself, summoning her draconic features. Seeing them suddenly appear over her arms and legs, she knew what changed. Her scales became resistant to magic. She could only imagine how durable and resistant her dragon form scales were, given she was far more durable in the latter half of her fight. Then she looked at her chest, looking past the two soft mounds defying gravity to see her powerful heart, now pumping and producing 2 times more mana than before. It was a respectable leap in strength, and she was eager to test it out. But before she did that, she had to check her status. Status in Xiaolong race, Ruined Dragon / Human Hybrid LV, Mid-Nuclear Age, 14 HP, 100, 000/100, 000 MP, 4, 000, 000/4, 000, 000 titles, Prankster, Child Prodigy, Clan Founder, True Dragon, Mythic-class H Slayer Skills, Accelerate LV, Master 01, Observe LV, Perfect, Ruined Dragon's Wrath not applicable, Dragon Trigger, Singing LV, Expert 04, Dismantling LV, Expert 08, Repair LV, Expert 04, Cooking LV, Expert 7, Unarmed LV, Master 04, Blades LV, Expert 08, Axes LV, 9, Spears LV, 7, Small Arms LV, Expert 08, Weaponsmithing LV, Expert 08 Strength, High Urban Multi-City Block, Vitality, Low Nuclear, Town Agility, Mid-Nuclear, City Perception, High Planetary Intelligence, Above Superhuman Aura, a CLA * H Techniques Self-Taught Unarmed, Taekwondo, Wing Chun, Karate, Jiu-Jitsu Awakenings Mythic, Blood, Bone Marrow, Internal Organs, Reproductive System, Skin, Scales Retractable, Claws Retractable, Horns Retractable, Tail Retractable, Heart, Essence of Ruin Godly. Dragon Lord eyes, not bad. Not bad at all. A rather pleased smirk made its way to her face when she heard a voice. That's what I should be saying, Ghislaine said, having opened the door to Ian standing there, observing the panel in front of her. Thanks. You're not bad yourself, Ian replied, noting the new small cuts and electrical burns on Ghislaine's body. She may not get aroused yet, but she could still tell what a beautiful and powerful body Ghislaine had. That said, how'd all you guys do? Ian asked, putting on a black kimono Callie set on her bed, looking like something Raven would wear. Ghislaine frowned and folded her arms. Injured it. But it got away. Surprised us with a lightning burst. We only ever fought it once before, and it only used water. But I ripped a few tentacles off, plus a fin. Ian pat her shoulder as she tightened the sash. I'm not disappointed, Ghislaine. While it would have been good to kill it, all I needed was some interference on your end. And you performed that spectacularly well. Ian heard her with a smile as she pressed down on the taller woman's chin. You did well. The words made Ghislaine happy, but also internally lit a fire within her. To succeed in killing the Leviathan next time. Her attention was then drawn to Yin's eyes. Your eyes look different now, Ghislaine pointed out, noting the amber color around her irises.
Yeah.
Small change, you can say. Where is everyone? Ian asked, though already picking up Shia's scent in the estate, along with Callie, Gyra, and Blake's. They're here. The Kings are going to have a meeting soon, though. We're going to hold it here, tomorrow. So Callie and Gyra are getting things ready right now. Ghislaine explained. Ian nodded, but gave Ghislaine a look. Are you not busy yourself? The whole uniting menagerie is important. Ghislaine shook her head with a wry smile. Never been good at those details. Sienna's dealing with that. All I've ever needed to do was express my stance, and Sienna works hard to deal with it. Ghislaine smiled. You have a good sister. Though you should still be near her, so she doesn't have to text you or call for the bigger decisions. Ian replied, watching as Ghislaine cupped her chin.
Amen.
You're right. We'll come get you tomorrow for the meeting.
Oh.
And talk to Shia and Blake. They're acting off. Ghislaine told her before taking her leave. Both of them? Guess I'll see what's up with Shia first. Ian strode out of her room, walking over to Shia's, where she abruptly opened the door. Aya, just to see said rabbit girl changing.
Oh.
It's you. Phew. Shia calmed down immediately, seeing it was Ian who walked in. Briefly running her eyes over Shia's *H figure, Ian then focused on her eyes. How'd the fight go? I heard you damaged Leviathan pretty heavily. Yin's words made Shia deflate a little.
We
didn't kill it. That regeneration is OP. So, I'm disappointed. Shia sulked before Ian pet her head and played with her bunny ears. I told Ghislaine this, but you don't need to worry about that. Your job was to stall it. You did a good job, Shia. Yin's compliment instantly brought her mood up, even going so far as to nudge her head into her hand happily. Well, that does make me feel better. You just woke up, right? Did you know someone from Kuo Kuana streamed the fight? They were far away, but some people are looking for a black-haired girl with many faunus features. Concerned, Shia warned. Probably saw ignition then. Guess I'll have to keep that and my fire magic under wraps for now. Ian tapped her foot in thought, thinking about her future plans. She was already quite strong. For the Veil Underworld plan, there was very likely no need to use all of her skills. That, and the Atlas plan shouldn't see the kind of combat that required her to use her semblance. Of course, after all the connections were made, she didn't care if people found out she was a dragon. It was public opinion she had to win over later in her plans. And having so much of the public afraid of you would be detrimental. There's always plan B. But Yang might get upset. This is more of a challenge anyway. Oh, and Blake's acting odd. Shia added, still enjoying the head pets. Odd how? I'll see her next. Ian asked, a modicum of concern in her voice. NNH. I think she's scared. Unsure, Shia muttered in response. Ian nodded and stopped before glancing at Shia once more. Head over to that dungeon we did. I want to test myself against Smasher again. Maybe I'll let you kill him for the XP. Really? Shia cried out, immediately running off. Ian nodded appreciatively. Shia desiring strength and improvement made her even more attractive in Yin's eyes. Not that she'd tell her. She wanted Shia to desire it for the right reasons, after all. Knock knock. Ian wrapped her knuckles across Blake's door. She heard the sound of sheets moving inside before a quiet voice answered her. Who is it? It's me, Blake. How are you feeling? There was a quiet pause after Yin's question, and she could have sworn she heard Blake gasp. Just a bit under the weather is all. Thanks. Yin heard her reply, though there was fear in her voice. She knew what of. It was directed at her, which likely meant she saw her true form. A hint of amusement found its way onto Yin's face. You're scared now?
No.
I guess that makes sense. Strange. My instincts are telling me to chase you now. Contrary to feeling anger or disgust, Yin felt amusement and a small desire to possess creep up inside her heart, though it was quickly stomped down. Ghislaine and Shia were fine, but Blake was just a naive kid at the moment. Well, I understand being scared of the big bad monster. That's a normal reaction. But I have to admit, I thought you had a stronger will than that, Blake. Yin stated, her voice quiet, yet easily heard through the door. She wouldn't bother trying to disperse her fear or comfort her. If Blake wasn't brave enough to overcome this, then she wasn't even close to being fit to be a huntsman, let alone being her sister's future partner and lover. No. Regardless of the fear issue, Yang deserves more. Yin's thoughts drifted to her sister as she made her way over to the dungeon door. And unknown to all on Memadry, a small boat finally arrived on the eastern side of Menagerie. A team of mercenaries, all dressed in black, high-tech military equipment had arrived, right as the sun began to set. C-rank dungeon. Corpo Plaza entered. Objective 1. Kill Adam Smasher. Objective 2. Save Lucy, Rebecca, and David. The dungeon changed. Yin muttered as her and Shia entered. That had some interesting implications. She wondered, did the world remember her from the last time? Or was it disconnected? Either way, she'd find out quick. Shibuya Ing Night City Corpo Plaza. It looked different than it had in Cyberpunk 2077. More alive. It was also very loud, due to the excessive gunfire going off between the NCPD and 4 armed people. Look alive, Shia. Goals to rescue that little short stack over there, plus the Mexican guy, hot white-haired girl, and Mr. Mustache. Yin stated, moving toward the encirclement quickly. Right. Is there anyone tough we should look out for? I thought this place blew up. The bunny girl asked in confusion. I doubt wait. Yin paused, seeing Rebecca start firing her shotgun up, right at a descending atom smasher. It was a scene anyone who watched Edgerunners was intimately familiar with. Rebecca was best girl after all, tied with Lucy. So upon realizing what was about to happen, Yin made a reasonable move. We're having a moment here. F***K before the little blonde was crushed by the falling cyborg. A black blur blew through the NCPD perimeter and hit Smasher like a torpedo. A crunch. The Borg was sent flying into the Arasaka building he fell down from, his metal body pulverizing the lobby as if a missile had been shot into it. That was fast. Shia cried out as she leapt over beside Rebecca. What the F***K? Rebecca stuttered, looking at the gaping hole the legendary Borg was kicked into, before looking at the one responsible. Yeah, probably ruptured a few organs and crushed a few ribs there. I'll leave him to you, Shia. Get in the truck. Yin looked down at Rebecca, cutting herself off as she used her wing to block a particularly powerful shot that almost took Rebecca's head off. I actually felt that a little. Tech weapons, huh? Yin smirked, looking at the Arasaka sniper with an Ikomata rifle in his hands, looking as if he were about to **T his pants. Even more so, when more of Yin's draconic features emerged. Thankfully, Rebecca got the message and jumped in the back of the truck, though she stared at Yin in shock still. You're that chick who *** up Smasher before the nuke. She pointed out, getting the attention of Falco, Lucy, and David. Yup. Strange he lived through that. But that'll be fixed soon. Yin replied, seeing Shia approach Arasaka Tower. Though the gunfire quickly became annoying, so Yin aimed her hand and snapped her fingers, obliterating 6 NCPD officers with an explosion of blue flames. This got the rest to wizen up and quickly evacuate, seeing as how their guns did nothing but annoy her. A roar of fury echoed from within Arasaka Tower's lobby. Atom Smasher ran out, enhanced by his advanced Sandevistan, trying to reach out and kill the woman who killed him, only to get a bunny girl's roundhouse kick to the face, smashing him through a few blocks of concrete. Alright, get somewhere safe. Can't guarantee your safety here while my friend stomps his head in. Go to Mega Building H10 in Watson. Just wait at the lobby. Ian waved them off before shutting the back of the truck. Thank you, David sincerely said, though she could see he was on the verge of losing his sanity. Go. Ian replied, ignoring the sounds of metal being heavily smashed behind her. Shia seemed eager to prove her strength, and her hits to Smasher's reinforced metal body were no joke. Already, it seemed like Atom Smasher was on his last leg. You, King Meat. How did you survive? Atom furiously roared, all his wrath directed at Ian. I should be asking that. Didn't I pop your head like King's it? Oh, look. The media's here. Ian replied, glancing off to the side as journalists and news reporters rushed onto the scene, though still behind the NCPD perimeter. Guess the whole world gets to watch you bite it again. Ian mocked with a hint of amusement in her voice. Smasher. You must get a sample of her. I am authorizing the deployment of every unit in Night City. Take her. At all costs, a distinct, aged Japanese man's orders were received by Atom Smasher. He clenched his fingers and punched the concrete ground. Crack. Fine. Everything. Smasher replied lowly, before his head was once more smashed into the ground by Shia, pulverizing it completely. And that's settled. Alright, time to clean up Arasaka's fodder, and… Ian turned to the armed Arasaka Elite Security, before stopping. High above, within Arasaka Tower, many openings appeared.
Wow.
That really was easy. Shia muttered, not noticing the commotion. 30 hulking figures leapt out of Arasaka Tower, decimating the ground as they landed. BOM, all having surrounded both Ian and Shia, collective gasps of terror could be heard from beyond the perimeter line. All of them, each and every one, was Atom Smasher. If that wasn't enough, Arasaka aerial halt vehicles swarmed them both. A voice spoke out from the largest halt vehicle, one many instantly recognized as Saburo Arasaka. I advise you to surrender. It is not in your best interest to. Ian ignored the withering old man speaking and looked at all the Atom Smashers surrounding them with a malicious, face-splitting grin.
Shia.
I changed my mind. You can have the vehicles, drones, and even the soldiers. I want the Smashers. Ian stated, oddly calm. Yeah? Well, as long as I get the XP. Shia replied cheerfully. Ian walked forward and held up her hand. Shut up, old man. Atoms, it's time for your jumping. You're all about to get jumped by me and me alone. And before they could utter a reply, the pavement exploded and the nearest Atom Smasher had been sent rocketing through the air by the hardest punch he had ever received. BOM, this time it was another building that suffered from the Borg body crashing into it like a ballistic missile. All H*LL then broke loose. Copious amounts of gunfire was shot at Ian and Shia, who engaged their set targets. Corpo Plaza was quickly becoming a war zone, where evacuation signals were being sent out to minimize the loss of life. *CR Crackbomb. 15 Atom Smashers were engaging Ian in close combat, chasing her up the Militech building. Ian was backflipping away from the giant Borg's fists and laughing. Come on, you can do better, right? Ian shouted, leaping forward as several rockets shot into the building from the Smashers below. One Smasher lunged at her from the Militech building, only to his face sliced in half by Murasama, then crescent-kicked through an office window, before said window and office was blown to smithereens by a giant ball of blue flames. BOM, the other Smashers chasing after her were blasted out of the air by the force of the explosion. Ian spun in the air, using Mana Hike to ascend further, assisted by the flapping of her wings to dodge and weave between large-caliber bullets and rockets, while the cyborg smashed into the ground. When she got above the Militech Tower, Ian put her hands together and summoned all of her flames to her hands. Blue light briefly bathed the entirety of Corpo Plaza before the flames grew larger. While she added more mana to her flames, she added gravity magic to the center, creating a large, black core that began to draw things toward it. I'll have to thank Hajime later for showing me how busted gravity spells are. Boom, boom. While Ian was having fun, Shia was dealing with a bullet H*LL. The drones and aerial combat vehicles were tough for her to hit, so she used the bodies of Arasaka soldiers to take the bullets instead of her aura. After the 9th bullet sponge, she had an idea. HUP. Using her powerful legs and her tribe's natural hopping talent, Shia kicked off the ground and smashed a drone to pieces with her Gretimer.
Yes. Ah.
I have to learn mana hike. I didn't realize my speed was lacking until now. Shia complained, much to the shock and disbelief of the soon-to-be dead Arasaka soldiers near her. She was already keeping up with them when they were using a Sandevistan. Crunch! Shia leapt up from the falling drone and curb-stomped the incoming aerial A*halt vehicle's engine, watching the terrified pilot try to dive out before once more leaping. She then felt a large gathering of mana and decided to abandon her next attacks and move away from the plaza. It was a good decision, as a 15-meter ball of extremely hot flames smashed through the nearby Mythic-class Tower, both burning and drawing air, people, and debris into it. Run! A terrified Arasaka agent cried out, using his Sandevistan to help him flee faster. But not everyone was as fast as him. A few atom smashers, soldiers, vehicles, pieces of nearby buildings, and other miscellaneous items were drawn into the expanding ball of hot death. Ian cackled as she held her hand out and swept it to the side, treating the pseudo-star she had created like a wrecking ball before holding up her hand. Snap! The ball of death was then ejected, crashing through the center of the plaza and bowling through the Arasaka Tower, reaching a diameter of 40 meters before exploding in a hive shockwave of fire and gravity. Kriuk, Arasaka Tower, having over half of it melted and suffering the explosion, began to topple, right onto the Mythic-class Tower, which began to do the same due to all the damage done to it. A good start. Vote. Ian smirked as she felt 4 atom smashers fly at her, riding atop an aerial combat vehicle each. That power, that kind of power. In meat. One atom roared indignantly before all of them activated their Sandevistans and simultaneously punched Ian straight into another tower. What's wrong? Figuring out you tossed away your D***K and balls for an inferior strength? Here, let me cheer you up. Ian drew in a deep breath of mana that began to get darker as it reached her mouth. A blast of darkness escaped her mouth, instantly catching 2 atom smashers and creating a perfect 10-meter hole through the tower, continuing to blast a hole through several other buildings. The dark mana eroding everything in direct contact with it. The 2 remaining smashers looked at Ian with a gradually increasing wariness. Tell your brothers to rush me. I'm starting to get bored. You're boring me. The smashers angrily retreated out of the building, realizing the merit in her mocking words. They'd win if they swarmed her, right? Meanwhile, Afterlife bar beep 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 click ugh. What is it, Rogue? I'm kinda in the middle of something here. A smarmy, confident voice picked up the call. I believe you. Rogue, the Merc Queen of the Afterlife replied. Huh? Mind explaining? I'm saying I finally believe you, Johnny. About that otherworldly *T you were telling me. Cyril something or whatever. I believe you. Rogue stated dryly. Well, *T. What changed your mind? Kin told you I wasn't cheating. Johnny started to complain, but Rogue interrupted. Look at the King news in Night City. Rogue said, waiting a few seconds before Johnny went completely silent.
This
isn't a movie, is it? He asked.
No.
Who the K is she? She looks like she hasn't aged a dumb day, and what the K? Rogue muttered as she watched 2 hive hands made of blue flame form above Corpo Plaza, both of them grabbing onto 2 hive skyscrapers. All while 10 atom smashers swarmed the girl. Arasaka soldiers, Militech soldiers, trauma team. There were a significant amount of dangerous people there. But there she stood, lording over them while closing her hands slowly, drowning the plaza in flames and explosions. F***K. Menagerie, Kuo Kuana night was quickly setting in. And unknown to anyone, a special team had made their way into the town. Their sights set on the young Blake Belladonna, and one who wasn't currently there. And, you guys want the 2 Lukoa chaps I ended up writing? I put him on Patreon for free, but I figure you guys might want to read that 2 Lukoa in the multiverse. Lukoa chaps. Putting M here for now. Let me know if you want M in their own book. chap coming later today. I don't want to be a fool for you. Just another player in your game for 2. You may hate me, but it ain't no lie. Baby bye bye bye. An incessant, off-key voice echoed out in the dark stone halls dimly lit by torches. 2 very clearly annoyed guards stood in the hallway adjacent to where the man singing was. They were dressed in pitch-black robes with thick hoods concealing their faces. While both cut a very intimidating appearance, they both seemed to be on the verge of losing their minds. Shut up. Shut the F***K up. One of the guards, who had been listening to the horrible singing for 20 minutes, screamed, which did seem to stop the terrible singing, if only for a moment. F***KU. I've been stuck in here for 3 F***kin days. No food, barely a little bit of water. But worse? No internet. You took my cell away. You can starve me, beat me, yell hurtful words at me, but boring me to death. You cultists are truly heinous. The man yelled back, his voice laced with mockery and mild amusement. The offending guard looked to his fellow cultist and clenched his fists in severe annoyance. Just try to ignore him. He's not going to live much longer anyway. High Priest Isvin thinks he might be the sacrificial pawn we'd been looking for. The calmer guard noted darkly, taking the angry cultist's mind off the man they'd been guarding. Ha. Yes. Yes. It's as you say, brother. Where did you even find this imbecile? The cultist asked, taking deep, calming breaths. That's when the man spoke once again. Oh, you want to know Edgeworth? At first, I was having a normal day. Woke up, ate Fruit Loops, took a big swig of nearly flat Mountain Dew. Saw Deadpool and Wolverine. Pretty normal day, right? That's the issue, though. Any time no weird **T happens to me for longer than an hour, I know a **storm's coming my way. The man narrated, this time, without the interruption from the 2 cultists he had gotten to know since he'd been kidnapped. Seeing as he went uninterrupted, he continued. Then after I saw the movie, I went back home. On my way back, though, I ended up getting whacked on the back of my head. When I woke up, I was strapped to a bed in some dude's house. Naturally, the first thing I did was check my hole to see if I was Bill Cosby'd. Oh, wait. No, first thing I did was loosen my binds by spitting on my wrist, a lot. So yeah. Then I snuck around, stumbled on some rooms where the guy stores his food, as **X-slaves and, I guess, regular slaves? Yeah, I woke up in some cannibal's F***K house, pretty much. The cultists slowly look at each other, sensing the shock in the other, despite their faces being obscured. The easier-to-anger cultist looked down the hall where the man was sitting in his cell before getting closer to the calmer cultist. Is that where you found him? The calmer cultist sighed and nodded his head. Yes. We weren't expecting much when we arrived at the manor. We assumed the man kidnapped him for ransom. But as we walked inside, we saw said cannibal on the floor, with him still beating his already caved-in head in with a frying pan. To be fair, he threatened my balls. Said it was the most delicious part of a man. Miss me with that gay **T. But you know the craziest thing I saw, there was a mind goblin. The guy kept it in his basement. The man sounded absolutely astonished and shocked as he finished his sentence. Mind goblin. Derek, no. The calm cultist tried to warn, but it was too late. Mind goblin this **K, like your girlfriend Sarah did yesterday. The man calmly replied, but they could both feel the **T eating grin from there. The easy-to-anger cultist immediately flushed red with rage. What the F *** K did you just say? How do you even know her name? Comment your most interesting part and like this video for my motivation and share with your friend. Thanks.